All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in for Tattoo Collecting 101, episode 128, right here on Guy Atchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Network, the community for tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and all those curious about the world of tattooing. We encourage everyone to join these live stream and real world events as we aim to educate and inspire one another to create better art, tattoos, and to leave the community a better place than how we found it. We stream out most days of the week, so be sure to check out the full schedule of events going on at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find these shows on our Roku channel, as well as all your favorite podcast platforms. So just search for Reinventing the Tattoo and you'll find us there. And real quick, just want to say thank you to the sponsors that make this possible. So thank you to World Tattoo Events, the largest, most comprehensive resource of tattoos and tattoo events going on in the world right now. Tattoo Now, technology for tattooers. They're the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels, and our affiliates at the Fireside Tattoo Network and the Apprenticeship Diaries. And lastly, just want to say thank you to Guy Atchison, who's the founder and the inspiration behind the Reinventing the Tattoo community. You can go to guyatchison.com to get your copy of the Biomech Encyclopedia, instructional DVDs, original paintings, and custom coil machines. And if you enjoy the knowledge we're spreading, be sure to share it with a friend.
Kyle, I think that was the best intro I've ever heard you do in my entire life.
Silky, like
Just change
butter.
the location and you nail it first try?
Aww.
What?
You take a camera off.
And we completely thrust this upon him.
Did you
There
hear
was
what he?
no prep, nothing.
Yeah. Did you hear what he said though?
So we need no
You just
camera.
need to take the camera off of
We just
him.
need to hide the camera from
Right.
So Kyle's new name is Intern Movie Phone.
Or Oz.
The great and wonderful
Kyle the Oz. Yeah. You stay behind your curtain. You stay behind your curtain.
So today's kind of a cool episode.
Pop-up episode.
This is the second session that I've gotten the chance to work on David, and he has kind of quickly become a friend of the shop in no time.
Thank you. By the way, this is your third session, woman.
3?
Did we do 2 days?
Yeah, we did back.
So this is 3
That
days.
doesn't count. That doesn't count.
3
Back-to-back
days.
session is one sesh. That's one open skin time.
One open skin time.
One open
yes.
skin time.
I've spent longer with her than she was saying, and I still like her. She's awesome.
She's awesome. Already winning.
And Ben's my BFF with the same birthday.
I mean, yeah. How do you don't often find birthday buddies like
No.
randomly?
It's pretty
Like,
wild.
I had a feeling you guys were going to hit it off, and I had no idea.
I mean,
Ben had this idea to like do the show this way today, and I was like, sweet. And he was like, client gonna be cool with it? I was like, I have a feeling he'll be just fine with it.
it was such a shot in the dark too, because I was like, hey, kind of throwing a curveball, gonna go out of town midweek. What do you think about it just happened to be a perfect day to do it.
Yeah.
So
It's good times.
yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my day.
Spending a day hungry, thinking about the next thing to eat.
You have got my food brain running, let me tell you.
Nothing makes you hungry like a tattoo.
Yeah,
That's true.
We talk about bringing snacks. This guy brought a cooler. He brought food for an army of 2 for the whole day, and is still talking about ordering. It's not a problem. It's a bonus. Life is about enjoying what you want to enjoy. If that's what you get down on, get down, bro.
That's a conversation about self-indulgence and then on the other side of discipline.
Right. I mean,
if you're disciplined enough, then you can have self-indulgence now and again.
Everything in moderation, including moderation.
As long as it's not mindless self-indulgence.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, mindless self-indulgence.
As long as it's not mindless.
Did we just bring up acid rock randomly?
Chance it. But do you want to take a moment, David, and introduce yourself? Because I think you've got a really cool story worth sharing.
I am David, and I heard about Fawn's epic tattooing from a buddy in our hometown. We mutually share this hometown where we're from. And in Marion, it's awesome.
I was like, are you just going to delete it?
I don't want to say it's Marion, Ohio. It's awesome.
There are nice parts of the little town.
The best things that we found. And, but that being said, my wife really wanted this kind of special line work tattoo done for her mom's 10-year death anniversary. And obviously Fawn doesn't typically do line work. She was saying not really the small pieces. And I just hit her up on Instagram randomly, like, can you do this? And this is a really simple piece, but it means a lot to her, and she accommodated her.
Nice.
And then while sitting here, I was like, hey, also, I have some really shit tattoos that I would like covered up. And everyone says that in order to do it, I have to have them either like surgically removed first, or I have to have them this terrible design of something I would never want.
Right.
And she looks at me and she's like, oh, no, that's nothing. No problem. And then just creates this entire like galaxy scape that is just so epic. It's been such a great experience. And
But to be fair, while we were working on your wife, we were kind of like talking about space and physics and all of the things, which is kind of what led
Yeah.
to this idea. So this
See,
wasn't just like a shot in the dark
No,
on
no.
like, let's do a crazy space nebula plasma ball thing.
That's how I remember it. We clearly have a different memory of that.
it's easy to intrigue an artist in things they're already into. Hey, do you want to do a picture about the things you talk about all the time?
Yep.
No, I remember because we got to talking about like it's my background in school was physics and math in college, and we were talking about how I like fractals and I like all of the things that are extra of kind of like base norm science. I like things that are more fringe,
Right.
that are still considered radical. Quantum field theory is like the only theory you can actually believe in magic. Still, because like if you can't explain something that occurs, it's magic. If you
Right.
think about it.
Right.
If I take a letter to the Amazon and give it to a tribe of like, hey guys, check this out, they're like, whoa, sorcerer with the magic. Just because we can't explain quantum theory doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway, that's what we got talking about this. And here we are now, Pain Day 3.
Well, yeah.
So what you're saying is you saw something, you reached out and opened a line of communication and just said, hey, I'd like to do this project.
I did a really funky thing that people don't do anymore, which is, yes, start a conversation with someone.
So that's something we talk about all the time,
Yeah.
that a lot of people are like, well, how did you find this caliber of artist? And how I asked and talked and found out the process.
Yeah, 100%.
So even if the process wasn't accommodated through the DM, you would at least found the answers to how to communicate with the artist.
100%. And I think that maybe is a stigma that's around, that people are scared to go into a tattoo shop or talk to artists because they have this assumption that it is people that they've been told are not like them, or people
Right.
that are mean, or they're going to be judgy, or they're embarrassed to go in. And
they're all just people.
100%, man. People
Right.
are people. And like I have met like every single person that is at this shop, be it an artist or an employee, is awesome. So it's, a great place to hang out if you're going to spend hours and hours and hours somewhere.
Right.
You prefer to be with people that are great. So
That
I feel like I lucked
helps.
out for sure.
I've said that before, that the initial draw to tattooing, like the tattoos were a byproduct of the environment. Like yes, I love all the tattoos I have and I love the style and I love it, but the draw was going to hang out in the room. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to go back to the circus. So being in that environment, it was really what created that. Like, well, I'm here, might as well get another one.
And we talked about Pain being a teacher, and it's like almost having the conversation while you're getting this done. I mean, obviously it distracts you from pain, but it also allows you to experience the growth process of pain while still having the ability to communicate thoughts in other ways. And it almost makes them more tacky. The thoughts stick because you're like, I remember this. I was hurting. Yep.
And it's weird that I think pain's the only teacher, because like even a conception of knowledge to be proved wrong is pain. So even if you think you understand something and somebody shows you a different way or a different angle, or there's a ego death in everything that you learn. So regardless if it's simple and it's not like, oh, I stubbed my toe and I learned to avoid the corner of the chair. It was, oh, I didn't know that. I had to accept that I did not know that, acquire that new information and implicate it. So like there's really like,
so ego death with everything you
every
learn.
single thing you learn.
So it's interesting, if the journey of true ascension in this life is to kill your ego, then we can assume that we should become, and this is a phrase that pays, I feel like that people don't want to use often, we should become comfortable in discomfort.
Right.
And we shouldn't run from discomfort. We should realize that all of the good growth in life only happens when you're uncomfortable. So embrace the suck.
And then when you do, it doesn't suck.
Right. It becomes a lesson. It's a blessing.
So are you really teaching people a lesson, or are you teaching people how to manage expectations?
Maybe flipping the idea to gratitude, an attitude of gratitude.
Right,
Man.
right.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
It's legit.
Be happy you're honored with the privilege to grow.
Right. And remember, there's actually another phrase that I had heard when I was going through a particular shit time, was you're not going through things, you're growing through them.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I'm growing through this experience. And things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And I'm like, wow, just changing that simple little wording is really impactful, man.
Like, stop using the word should.
Yeah, 100%. Should, would, and coulds have no business in life. Just do or don't do. How very Yoda of you.
How very Yoda.
Indeed.
But I mean, I watched a whole 20-minute thing on should create so much false expectation. And then you're literally associating shame with anything you don't do from should. And then you're backpedaling and you're self-avoiding because of that. So I should do this. You've already committed to not doing it.
You already instilled doubt. And it's kind of like you're also setting other people up for disappointment, knowing fully well that you're probably not going to
let you down now.
You know what? That's the thing, though, too, where people seem to feel like they owe people an explanation for why they don't want to do things. Right. And I don't know where that came from either, where it's like, I don't want to do this. Well, why? That's where my wife is from. So yes, it makes sense. Everything's tater hot dishes and I'm sorry. That is 100% correct. And I wish she was here right now and she'll watch us and laugh because it's so true.
Right.
But why do you have to explain to somebody, like, I don't want to do this. That's it.
Most people felt the need to justify what's more important than them.
But why?
So you're a great person and I don't want to hurt your feelings. This thing is more important than you.
Or it's maybe like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You're a great person and I'm just really worn out. So it's not that it's more important. I guess rest is more important than you. I can say that every day to almost everyone. Like my personal rest, if I'm not rested, I'm not going to be a great representation of me.
It depends on how deep you take that, because if you're taking that down I don't want to be social today because I've already taken in enough. You know what I mean? Then that's, no matter who that is, that gets weird. Because people that are like, was it neurodivergent, where you get too much information and then you get hyper like out of everything. So like imagine now trying to have to explain that. No, my brain just said no more people today. Like, you know, we started this conversation and I'm hard out. I love you. It's not that I don't want to spend time with you. It's not that I don't enjoy your interactions. My brain just says no right now.
I mean, I like that. I don't know. I like to know where people stand. I think it's helpful.
That's why I'm a big fan of blunt honesty.
You mentioned that. That blunt honesty is the way to go in all your relationships.
It's really helped a lot. And people think you're crass, and it's like, I'm not being crass. I'm saving gray area.
Well, it's also like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can say something that's very honest, but not in a dicky way. You can just be, you don't have to lie or sugarcoat it, but you know, you can deliver news in a certain fashion.
The last office that I worked in, they weren't very comfortable with direct facts.
What were they comfortable with?
So I hear what you're saying, and I understand why you think that might be the right way to do it.
Oh.
But it's now not 1999, and it's 2023, and they got programs that do that shit for you. So, like, you would actually almost have to accept their answer. Yep, that would work. You're right. But here's the new way. Because they haven't done QuickBooks since 98. And so, you know what I mean? So it was always very just like, if I was just like, no, this. Well, Mr. Know-It-All.
Oh.
No.
It's like you're trying to streamline a process, too. It's like you're Kaizen and Six Sigmaing them all the way for them.
Do you remember why you hired me?
No.
Because you guys weren't good at all this stuff? And then I tell you how you're mad? Okay.
He would get so frustrated because his coworker, who was like supposed to be training him as their replacement, then did not need replacing because they then did not retire. So anyways, it was like the Department of Redundancy department, and they would still like print multiple copies of things off and file them in multiple places. All the while Ben's like, hey, we don't even need to waste a tree. Like it's all here.
There's a
right
server
here.
right there.
And then they didn't understand, like, hold on. They didn't understand that because of the server, all the computers were interconnected. So if Ben did something on his computer, they didn't understand
they could access that.
This was recent?
Yeah. So it was like, you need to print that off and put it on my desk. And Ben's like, but like, you already have access to it. Here's how you open it. So this was week 1.
So
it didn't get better.
About a year deep, and they're still printing off my emails to put on my desk. And I'm like, guys, we share an inbox. Like, what are we doing? And I am not Mr. Technical. I am not ahead of the curve. I don't spend my life behind the computer. Like, I'm not that guy. Like,
you have a face that says IT to me.
Thanks. It's the glasses. It really is. And it was like, if I'm the one presenting this information, y'all are way backed up. Y'all way backed up.
That's mind numbing, though.
It was very. That's why.
Like soul crush.
That's why I don't work
It's
there
soul
anymore.
crushing.
He was very, very frustrated about that job.
I have never walked out of a job in my life until this one.
How'd you do it?
Deleted my computer and got my car.
Oh, you didn't like grand exit?
There was nobody there to grand exit.
To be fair, he was trying to have a meeting with said business owner to discuss things, and said business owner
Day
did not
before,
meet
they
him.
call me complaining about process. Well, I've been asking you to be involved in this process from the rip, and I've had to do it all myself. So if you want to discuss this process, I am more than willing to do that with you. Come tomorrow morning when you want to. Okay, I'll be there 7:30.
Nothing.
So by 11, when there was still nobody at the office to have this conversation with, I packed my shit, deleted my computer, and I left. I sat at the back of the room with our office manager 7 feet from me and literally took my pictures off the wall, packed up my desk, made multiple trips to my car. She never even said a word to me.
Oh, great place to work.
So I grabbed my book bag and I was walking out with all my stuff in it as my computer's finalizing the reset. And I was like, have a great day. See you later. And I walked out. Hit send from my email on my phone as I walked out the door, pretty much saying, hey, I'm done.
Wow.
Have a good day. Yep.
Good for you.
I mean, you say that until you have to take months off to find another job, and all the things you thought you had lined up had a little bit of a delay that you weren't ready for, so you randomly take a month and a half off in the middle of your schedule. It's just it works out then. But it's one of those things you have to make a point in your life where you stop standing for other people's bullshit. Like, I'm highly employable. I will find somebody that finds value in what I can offer them. And obviously you're not it. And if you're not willing to work with inside the system that you set up, I'll find someone that is. I don't need $1 million salary to live. So I wasn't asking for the world here. Just want you to participate in your business.
It's crazy to me.
And I'd only been there a year.
How touch can you possibly be? That's what you do. Like that you print emails.
Mm-hmm.
Like what a bunch of loss and just cost. Just it's.
Well, it's just
environmental cost and inefficiency. Yeah.
We're 6 feet from me. Hey, I moved that to your folder.
Oh.
Not even in another room.
To raise your voice. It's kind of like,
just tell me what's up, man.
Just talk. So when I started this company, the commercial estimating, right, and they used a program that was so out of date that they were hand updating their catalog of pieces and parts.
Okay.
So to build the estimate, you had to add all these pieces and parts in all the time. Their back catalog hadn't been updated in almost 10 years. So their pricing was outdated. So they're adding a random percentage to the end of their estimates anyway. And I was like, so you guys are pretty much just guessing anyway? So how about this? After I spent 6 months updating all their pricing, I was like, you guys know they make programs that do this on their own, right? And they're like, oh, we'll get that then. Yep.
That's frustrating in a sack, bro. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yep. So I'm like, I shouldn't be the one steering the ship at the new company in a new industry I've never worked in before.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing, man. It went great for a while.
Fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. But I don't remember what my whole point of that was. Oh, some people don't like blunt.
Oh.
And they get their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do, especially like we were talking about trying to book an appointment when an artist flat out says that's not my style, or that's not my wheelhouse, or that doesn't fall into my norm. It's not personal.
No.
They're not mad at you. They're not trying to reject you and say that it's not good. It's just not good for them. Find the person that gets down on what they're not wanting to do. If I called Fawn and was like, Fawn, I want American traditional on my face.
I'd be like, you understand I'd be faking it first, right?
So wouldn't you then rather have me go to somebody that specializes in American traditional?
So it's kind of like going to a chef who makes really great steak in the steakhouse and asking for a sushi roll.
Bring me sushi.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I don't even want you to cook.
Yeah.
I want to take the thing you do the least
and make you do it.
And do that.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite thing. So yeah, let them stay in their wheelhouse and don't be offended if somebody's like, that's not my jam. Find somebody who's that jam.
And it seems like you can find an artist who's in basically any style if you just look.
Absolutely.
Just look and ask. Just look around.
Absolutely. Start that conversation. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Don't be afraid to go in either and reach out and just talk.
Well, hanging out at a shop is the only way to feel the vibe.
That's true.
So your consultation should be more than the conversation with your artist, because even if you have to be there all day, like you're saying, it's immersed into an environment. If you don't like the person across the hall and you still have to deal with them for 8 hours, that's something to take into consideration. Like, feel the vibe of the room. You have to hang out there.
I mean, I was back to back a couple weeks ago. So for like, I was with you for what, like 10 hours one day and probably 10 hours the day after. And then before that, I was with you for like 5 hours for my wife.
Yep.
And I left. And a couple days later, I was like, I messaged her. I'm like, I miss talking to you. We should keep talking. It sucks.
We're having that conversation.
Well, you're also very cool. So that doesn't hurt.
Aw, well, thanks.
Well, it's true. No, people are good. People are good.
Fawn and I pretty much have a ongoing conversation continually
About
anything and everything. It just floats all the time. Like, that's the main reason podcasts worked for us. Because it's like, what rabbit hole did you want to like delve down to for the next 45 minutes and talk about some random pocket knowledge?
You could round table. You could be like a wheel. Wait, no, we could put a wheel right now that's like pharmacology, food science, natural sciences,
and
cosmology, astronomy.
Like, Ben, these new mushrooms I just heard of. What can we make with them?
Right.
And he'll be like, I don't know, Fawn. What kind of trip are we taking with these mushrooms? We need to make the appropriate meal to complement the experience.
Well, the answer is always fat. Anytime you're delivering any type of anything to your body, the idea is to encase it in fat.
Think about why that is.
Oh, why?
Well, because half the nutrients your body needs are fat soluble and require fat to digest properly and to get into the cell membranes. So if you take fat soluble vitamins without fat, they don't work. They just go through you.
So you're saying that I need something other than just a pill?
Yeah, pills are dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, you might need one. But like at the end of the day, like
if it's got a psyllin in there, you might want to take it. But other than that,
but it's true. It's like, people are like, I feel like shit. And like, what do you eat? Shit. Oh, I wonder why you feel like shit.
It's funny how those things correlate so quickly and easily.
Like the past couple of days, I was eating a lot of fast food and immediately felt it.
Yeah, it's a fast way to feel like shit.
It's just like felt decrepit a little bit.
That was the one thing I thoroughly enjoyed about intermittent fasting, because your meal mattered. So if you didn't eat, and you're only eating in an 8-hour window, if you didn't eat for the rest of that time, by the time it came time to break your fast, the food that you put in your system had a direct effect on what happened that day. So that people are like, oh yeah, eat whatever you want, because your body's naturally teaching you inside of that process that you don't want junk. So yeah, eat Philly cheesesteaks and ice cream for the first couple of weeks, because once you build the habit of doing that, your body's going to start rejecting it. So then you're going to want the better food, and you're going to want the better proteins.
So to extrapolate on that, actually, it's interesting. So evolutionary research states that the gut was developed before the brain in the human. So people talk about the gut being the second brain. Really, the gut's the first brain, because the bacteria in your gut is what tells your brain what you crave. Mm-hmm. And so that's why people who have like a diet predominantly like covered in sugars and in crappy food, their body craves that. So the bacteria they fed, now that is their food source. And so different colonies of bacteria feed on different kinds of sugars. So that is now telling your brain, hey, feed me what I need so I live. And you've got a lot of parasites hanging out with you. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about. What's really causing me to want this crap. It isn't because my brain's not saying this is good for me. The bacteria is saying, feed me so I can thrive.
Right.
So you get like candida overgrowth in this country, really bad cases of yeast or bacteria buildup, because they're only eating foods that feed bad gut bacteria.
Right.
And it's wild, man.
It's crazy to think about.
Plus, like 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So it's your feel-good neurotransmitter. It makes you feel whole and connected. So if 90% of it's made in your gut, and almost everybody's got gut issues in this country now, people ain't so happy.
Right.
He thinks there's a correlation. Oh, wait. Yeah. Did I go down a weird direction?
No, it's beautiful. No, it just makes perfect sense, because if you look at the average American considered to be obese, right?
Yeah.
So now if you're looking at that as an overall mental health issue, and you look at the rate of depression and the rate of suicides and the rate of mental health decline in the United States, it's insane compared to these whole food nations, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's everything too. Like so like sperm count in men has gone down over the last 30 years dramatically. The amount of men who are developing low testosterone at early ages is huge. Like from environmental estrogens, from crappy food, fillers in food, you just crash your hormones.
Right.
And these have really, really deleterious effects downstream. low testosterone is extremely dangerous for men for cancer
Hold on,
risks.
rewind. What
Sure.
was that word?
What?
Start.
Deleterious?
Yes.
What about it?
I've never heard that word before.
Really?
Divulged
Not good.
in it. Not good.
Not good things. Degrading, bad.
Okay. I mean, that's what I took from the context,
Yeah.
but I had never heard that word before.
Yeah, like this is deleterious for my calmness. This Fawn tattoo. I love it. It looks really good. Thanks, man. I'm spilling on myself. I'm a damn mess.
You only got one arm. You gotta. It's navigate. You got your all down the front here.
Yeah. Drinking that sweet G0 Gatorade for my no colon.
The
Oh yeah, how much aspartame's in that?
Oh man, I don't know on this one actually. I don't. It's funny. I don't hate aspartame as much as I hate sucralose. And I hate.
Can
that
we just avoid both?
Yeah, I would love to. I hate that I have to use this stuff. It like so like I just said, I have no colon. I lost it a couple years ago, and because the colon is where all your fluids are rehydrated into your body, it's really easy to get dehydrated when you don't have one. So you have to drink electrolytes all day.
I wouldn't even thought of that.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, why would you?
Yeah, well, for sure, but like,
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense though. Like,
yes, that's why you're like so like without a colon, like food goes from your small intestine. Small intestine digests all your food. It's where all your food is actually brought in for nutrition, and the colon sucks the water out of that, and also sucks the bile salts out of that and reabsorbs them, and then you can form with fiber. You can get some like poop-sized nuggets that come out. Because left to their own devices, that is not what it looks like without a colon. It is just liquid. So that's solidified into the large intestine.
What a weird exception for one of our rules.
well, this is medical.
I know.
I'm sorry.
We've got
No.
we've got this funny rule, but
Yeah.
most of the time the context is a little different.
Tell me the rules before I'm on the show.
No, because it didn't apply.
It didn't apply in this context.
Tell me, what is this?
It makes me uncomfortable when people talk about poop on the air. When
we don't talk about shit. We don't talk shit. So
talking shit's not good.
So if we are we don't enjoy toilet humor because there's no clean way to do that, and then we don't talk shit about people. So if you're going to say something negative about a process or a person or an experience, we avoid their name out. We say I was at this shop and this experience happened. You don't say Fawn Baker at Red Tree did this horrible thing while I was there.
But no, it's true. The only reason that talking about elimination is important is that it is a really big marker of your health. And like being able to talk about like what
you weren't telling toilet jokes.
Yeah.
We were talking about health.
Right.
There's a big difference.
I was just marking the caveat to our rule.
But no, it's important to talk about that stuff, and people find it distasteful, and I would agree. It's not fun to talk about,
right?
But it is important for your health to be like, how does that look for me? Like, how is it supposed to look for me? And what's normal? And so many people have GI issues. It's bananas. So
that makes sense, though.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about, like you said, emotional tie-in, depression. It's just so prevalent, and people want to throw drugs at it. They want to throw, you go to a GI, they're going to throw you all types of biological medicine or painkillers or anything else, as opposed to just doing something stupid like let's look at what you eat. And everyone's different. Let's look at your genetics. Where are you from? What's your heritage? Are you from Eastern Europe, Western Europe? Are you from Africa? Everyone's got different DNA,
right?
And the way that you digest food is different based on your culture. And if you've been from a culture that's been nomadic and only had goats, you're not going to be able to drink cow milk.
Right.
But goat milk you're good with.
So that's why, since, the majority of my people have come from that European area of like Britain, UK, all of those, I'm probably down to eat beef and cow milk and all 100%. In excess.
It's same with potatoes.
And potatoes.
Potatoes, same thing.
I can just eat potato. I could live off. Honestly, I like vegetables. I do enjoy green food. I'm not saying I don't, and I encourage people to eat green food. But like, I could live off of like good protein and potatoes. I don't think I'd get scurvy because like I always like tease my nephew because he's like, Sam, have you eaten a vegetable in the last like your entire life? Like I feel like you're a walking case of scurvy. Put the pepperoni down, boy.
There's a ton of vitamin C in potatoes. But here's one for you. This is an interesting fact.
You got to have the skin though to get that though, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Here's one for you. The human body doesn't produce cellulose. What is cellulose, you ask? Cellulose is a digestive enzyme used to digest vegetables.
And it only comes from starches?
If you don't produce something to break down a vegetable, do you know what happens when you eat it? It ferments in your gut, you get bloated and gassy, and then you shit it out. So people have this thought that they can assimilate vegetables and live off of them and they get nutrition from vegetables. It's actually very, very small amounts
Is
of
this
nutrition
why
you
so
get
many
from
vegetarians are
vegetables.
crop dusting everywhere they
Yep.
go?
Well, yeah, your
Oh
body
my
can't
God.
digest it. If you bloat from something, it's very telling because it means it's fermenting in your gut. Well, why is it fermenting? It's because it's breaking down into simple sugars. My bacteria is eating it. My body does not like this. So it's important to pay attention to these things. So people that are like, you should have all these really, really exotic vegetables, or every meal should have vegetables. I'm not a fan of that, actually. I'm more of a fan of like occasionally have some fruit. But here's another thing about fruit. The reason that your brain goes haywire when it eats sugar, because you, as a nomad, would not walk across a field of berries every day.
Right.
Fruit ripens very rarely in the wild, right? So you would have it when you had it, you would blow up. Your dopamine receptors will go apeshit. It's why when you eat sugar, your body's like, we need all of that. Because it's a
Right.
very high center of sugar, calories, and vitamins.
Okay.
And so your brain would think, we need that when we have it, and then they're gone. So you would see it again, you get really excited. That is how sugar addiction happens. Because people are like, they're stuck in that dopamine loop of reward, and their body says, wow, we're never supposed to have this kind of sugar. We should eat it all the time in case of a famine. We're giving constant calories. Sorry.
Stock up.
I can go on food, buddy. We can talk about food all day.
Right. I love it. I love
We
it.
do love talking about good food on the show because it's
Oh,
one of those
please. You wanna
things
order
like
some good
you
food?
touched on was feeding your body, like feeding your body quality food. Like when I have a consultation with somebody, usually I'm like, make sure you eat well, and I kind of like go into specifics of like what I recommend before a tattoo session just to prepare your body, not for the session, but for the recovery after
Right.
the session. In addition to the session, of course,
We
but
say all the
like
time, it starts the day before.
mhm,
You
the week
can't
before.
eat a good meal on your way in and expect that to magically change everything.
So here's how your body builds tissue. It's really interesting. Protein is taken in by the body. It's broken down into its constituent amino acids. They fly through the bloodstream. If there is tissue that needs to be repaired, like this is open skin tissue, the satellite protein receptor cells will open and say, hey, I need amino acids. If there is an amino acid floating by the time, they'll grab it and then they'll heal and start to regrow itself. The problem is that if you don't eat sufficient protein and you don't have circulating aminos, you'll never grow, never repair. What's up, man?
So without amino acids, you never repair.
Well, yeah, you need to have proteins to, because those essential amino acids are floating around your bloodstream
You gonna
waiting for
step over here on
satellites
camera and
to
say hey?
attach to. And so, like, if you don't have sufficient amino acids, you're never going to regrow your tissues. You're going to heal really slow because your body will break it down.
It's just like, oh, you do.
We got Ben Reif joining us
Hi, Ben
from
Reif.
down the hall.
How's been right?
What's happening?
Microphone.
Traditional tattoo.
Speaking of
I
American
wouldn't be the
traditional.
one to call, but that guy would be
Okay,
the
right
one,
there's.
for the record.
Traditional tattoos.
Yeah, like American traditional.
What would that be?
Most of Ben's collection.
I see stripes. Okay. Oh yeah,
This is all nautical.
like nautical theme,
stuff,
very
but
sailor.
Not all American traditional. Isn't it?
Okay.
So.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thicker lines, harder color, like bolder colors, less. It's more like whip shaded. It's got like black gradient to create the difference in colors, as opposed to 5 different colors of red. It's one red with gray fade.
Gotcha.
It's more of the American early art as opposed to the. It's the right way to say it, Fawn. Finer edge, finer art stuff that is now more heavily produced.
More painterly,
Yeah,
more realistic.
yeah.
You know,
It's a,
tattoos that look like tattoos.
tattoos
if we had
that
to
look
put
like
it
tattoos.
in a nutshell.
That's it. Later, Bobby.
You were showing me some pretty crazy stuff earlier from that artist.
Oh yeah, I talk about him on the show all the time. Ilya Fawn.
Oh,
Dude, like it's bananas. That's
Super
not
duper
a
real
gulag
feeling.
tattoo.
yeah.
That's not gulag tattoos. No, there's no stars. There's no stars on your shoulders, man. No.
It's we talk about all the time the evolution of the availability of the art that can be done in a tattoo now.
Dude,
it's insane what they can do now in comparison to 20 years
so what
ago.
is that? Is that machinery or is it ink? Is it
Both.
All of the
Okay,
above.
Both.
tell me more.
The industry's like both practitioners and like inventors, everything. Everybody's become so passionate about quality and like precision delivery of these pigments. You know, there's the right tool for any idea you want to make come alive. Like if you just look at how black and gray has grown over the last 20 years, it's leaps and bounds. Like what was possible in like the early 2000s, I'd look at like chulo style black and gray and just be blown away. And there were a handful of like realistic black and gray artists that I would follow, and I'd just be blown away. But then to see the stuff that people are doing now, where it's just such dark, rich chiaroscuro, and these images are emerging from the dark, but they're also like the most precise detail in the selective areas. Lovely, lovely. I don't know that some of the things that people are pulling off today, I don't know if that would even be possible with coil machines. At the same time, there are some things that were possible with coil machines that you just can't do with a rotary. Like
So
they're
what-
just not soft enough. For instance, line work, a lot of people like to still line with a coil machine because they're just like punchier than a rotary pen style machine. But like, I don't know, the inks have come so far. Like the things we can do with color tattoos now that will heal well and will stay saturated.
Yeah, there was 10
It just
color
wasn't
choices when
even-
I started getting tattooed.
Yeah, it wasn't even
Really?
I'm
possible 20 years
exaggerating,
ago.
but like
12 maybe.
How many are
maybe
there now?
12.
How many colors?
I probably have 200 colors over there, and that's like a
Yeah.
small, like, drop in the bucket. That's
Well-
like a handful of colors from a few different brands, but like
Not that you
a
couldn't
lot.
make any color, but then your consistency was different. So every time you would have to make sure you made that blue the same blue every time you worked on that tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're mixing ink, and even if you still kept the half a cap with 5-drop white formula in there, what happens if your blue was a little bit more chunky on the bottom that day and there's just less pigment in the what you dropped in? So now your 5 white drop should have been a 4 white drop. Now your color theory is all off, and now your shit right next to your shit doesn't match. So they wouldn't take the chance of mixing the ink, and they'd fill it in black or fill it in
Gotcha.
red and fill it in solid yellow. You know what always holds? Fucking whip shading. So it's just like instead of taking the chance of something falling out and not looking right, they're like, this works, bold holds. We'll stick to this.
Makes sense.
So now with every available color in the world, you can blend every single one of those in and out of each other without worry of not being able to repeat it.
Makes sense.
Consistency.
That's key to life, man.
Yeah.
Every single thing.
And
Yeah.
there are some colors that I have where, like, in the bottle, they're just dead ringers for one another. But like Ben said, there's going to be different consistencies. Like, I've got some colors, like I really like Star Bright's Blood Clot because I can just use it as just a neutral undertone for like my dark browns to richen them
Right.
up. I can mix it with my blacks to transition into reds.
Well, that's a lot to do with
Sometimes I can
people's-
just use it to just imply warmth in a
Right.
black area. You know what I mean?
Well, it has a lot
Or
to
it's
do with
just a
people's
versatile
skin
color.
tones too.
I can't so there's an eternal color that matches it and is a dead ringer. There is a raw color that matches it that is a dead ringer, but I can't use them in quite the same way. Like I have applications for them, but
Right.
like they mix a little differently and they blend with like the other organic colors a little bit differently. So I can tell, like, even though they're dead ringers in the bottle, the formulas to make that color are a little bit different. And I don't know if you've ever really gotten that far into like color mixing, but like, let's say you're mixing latex indoor house paint. You can have 15 different formulas to achieve the same color,
Mhm.
but how that color might layer over top of another is totally different.
Well, that's what
than-
I was starting to say with skin tone, just because everybody's skin is a little bit of a different color. So to produce that same brilliancy on somebody else is different. Like
It's wild.
every single tattoo is going to be unique because every single person's skin tone is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Your blue is the different from my blue, even if it came from the same bottle.
That's a pretty good, and the way we can have the same exact color but use it differently.
Right.
Like I just mentioned a handful of different ways I use one color, let alone like
The clotting color.
yeah,
Clots. The blood clots. I'm just starting to mess with these pigments and stuff like that. I didn't realize that the we'll say healed or dried difference was so much different than the bottom. So like if you're looking at the wet pigment in comparison to once it dries and or heals, you're putting a layer over top of that, or it's lack of a better term, settling. And the same blue that came from the dip cup isn't the same blue that heals. So like you don't even get that like apples to apples comparison straight from the bottle. You have to know how it heals in someone's skin to be able to see the end result up here.
There's so much to this process that I think is lost on people that aren't in the industry. I mean, I would never think these things. And I think this is kind of testament to what a craft and art form this is and the extensive experience that you really need to be great. Just because, like you said, there's so many styles, there's so many different types of pigments and materials that you use. And like you said, the way you do it is different. So it's like, the longer you do this craft, the more you probably hone your style, and then you can evolve into other things. Because it's amazing.
Absolutely,
it's cool. It's a really cool art form.
Right.
Well, and then like one of the things that I always like to talk about that a lot of tattooers kind of like forget to mention, and like all the wonderment of what we do is like, if it wasn't for the sake of open-minded clients to let us try new things on and let us like, hey, like for instance, when we were talking about this idea, I was like, I can't even show you an example for what I'm thinking, and you were like, run it. When somebody like gives any artist that much confident freedom, like, nope, I just trust your vision, run it, make it happen. Like those are the times that we grow as artists. Like, not only are we doing what we can do, but those are the projects that like level us up, when it's like, I can't even show, like, I haven't done this. I haven't seen anybody else do it.
This idea.
Yeah. Those are the moments of growth.
Well, and that's why we always say, find somebody that you like their style, you like their art, that tickles your fancy, and then go for that.
It's funny, actually, that just reminded me about how I first have heard of you. And so I was referred to her by my buddy who's a barber, but like a week or two before that in the gym, I had seen this girl that I know training, and she had this really cool Galaxy back piece. It was sick. And I was like, holy crap, like, where'd you get that? She's like, Fawn Baker. And I'm like, who is Fawn Baker? And she's like, she's dope. She's down here. You need to find her if you're into this. And I took a picture of it and showed my mom, like, this is so awesome.
Right.
And it turned out to be her that we came to see. And so that's when she was like, hey, so I'm thinking this. What do you think? And I'm like, well, I've seen what you can do. Your style, I love. I'm not going to go to an acclaimed chef and tell him how to cook his dinner.
Right.
I'm not going to tell him the ingredients to use.
I have literally used that exact same.
I'm not going to go somewhere and be like, this is what you're good at. Let me tell you how to do it. I'm going to go to you and be like, hey, I trust you. And also, you don't want to put your name on something that doesn't look amazing.
Right.
So trust the artist, man.
Right.
And actually, I think that more people should be willing to just be like, yo, artist, go. Do your thing, because that's what makes you you, right?
And it takes those kind of clients that really, like, we can talk about the tattooers all day long, and everybody does talk about tattooers pushing the industry and like growing these techniques, growing leaps and bounds. But it really, the faith it takes for some clients to be like, yep, just run it. Like, we talk about it like that should just be an expected thing as a tattooer once you get to a certain level. But in reality, like, as a collector myself, I know what I know the leap that it took to trust somebody like Russ Abbott to do my back.
Right.
You know, and I drove all the way down there, and we didn't even have like solid confirmation that he was going to even work on me. We're going to talk about ideas and see if we can come up with something. You know, so it was like I took that blind leap of faith and drove all the way down there, and I love what we have achieved. But it definitely was a reminder that like so many of my clients are giving me that same leap of faith. And those are the clients that like I said, not only are they just collecting like a piece of art from me, but they're making it so every piece of art that I do from that point on is a little bit more special and a little bit different because they trusted me to try these new things on them.
I have the first piece with this trick done in it.
Mm-hmm.
Baby's mama's got one of Rich Cook's first geometrical tattoos because he looked at her and was like, hey, this is the new cool thing. I haven't done any yet. Will you be the guinea pig and let me try this inside of your tattoo?
And now Rich Cook is like sought out for that crazy, colorful, unlike anybody else's geometric work.
The only thing I asked her for was like no hidden Salvador Dali dicks. Like out my tattoo somewhere. 2 years, like, hey, wait a minute. When I'm upside down and I see it this way, I'll ruin my day.
Wah, wah.
Ruined? I don't think so. You would laugh so hard.
If I found a hidden dick in a tattoo, I would.
He's gonna start playing like connect the dots with the stars going on.
Wait,
he'll be like,
wait,
hold on, if I connect this one to this one and that one over
No,
there,
that's gonna
that
make me feel
is.
like I'm gonna feel like Giorgio Tsoukalos. So I'm gonna be like, if I look at this, so what you're saying is that my tattoo shows that there's a door in the universe that opens up. Awesome, cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Giorgio. Awesome.
Absolutely.
There's only some leaps between these things make sense to it's the facts. Like,
Right.
whoa.
Right.
Slow down here, man. It's cool.
Hair, really.
I love that show so much, and I wish I didn't.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, hey, it's 4:20. Time check.
Is it really 420?
Yeah, it was just. Yeah, it was. What do I think he's got weed in it?
You got a Vaporoo?
Do you want to hear a cool story? Do you know why they're called potholes? Do you know this story?
No, I
It's a
don't know
true
the
story.
story. Tell me why they're called potholes.
Well, if you're into ceramics, this would make you interested.
You already
So-
got my attention.
So in the original road systems, there would be sinkholes a lot, and people that were into ceramics had noticed that the sinkholes created an access to clay. And so what would happen is people that were into ceramics would go steal all the clay under the road, and there'd be a giant hole, and they started forming this, there's this potholes again, because they were making pots out of the clay.
That's crazy.
Just for you.
I've never heard that, but
I
that
know.
makes total
It's your
sense.
Monday knowledge, like little factoid bomb.
You don't need a Monday knowledge bomb.
Knowledge bomb.
Do you know that if all the birds at the equator were capable of flattery, then Thanksgiving and Halloween would fall on the same day?
One more time.
Nope, that's a one-time thing. Think about it. Get back to me.
I think I missed it.
It's okay. Good. Feels good, actually. I like that.
Is that like a sarcastic
No,
joke?
it
Like
actually
you need
does.
some Bactine, or the Bactine's helping?
No, some of the little spots actually feel good. It's like a nice tickle.
Like a little scratching of an itch.
Yeah. I'm like my tricep that wants to kill me. Oh, I love this color. Oh,
All the bleeding.
Cool. No, not that. No, I don't care about that. Care about
I love this color. That's.
But no, it's funny. Really quick, talking about eating the proteins to heal. After my first surgeries, my doctors were blown away just because I kind of continued my diet that I was on before I got sick, and I healed like 4 times faster than the normal patient. And so I actually healed so fast that my skin grew at such a fast rate that it ripped. Where one of my big incisions, it actually ripped apart because the skin was growing above and below so fast that it couldn't wait. It ripped. So that was problematic. But it is interesting when you get skin damage, you get like a surgery. What you eat is so important.
That's insane.
What you put in your body matters, man. You know,
That's insane.
If you run a gasoline car, why'd you put diesel fuel in it? Like, why
That's
are you
a
running
good point.
like semi-optimal
Or
fuel?
like if your car requires have you ever you've clearly had a car that runs on premium, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Never.
So it doesn't take much to have a car that runs on premium. My smart car, Caddy Daddy,
Yeah.
So what happens if you pull up to a pump that only has regular and mid-grade? Oh, I'm only getting 2 gallons because you're going to be angry if I put more than that in here.
There is, it's funny. People like sometimes cars don't need that. Sometimes they really do. Like high compression engines that are really efficient require like high octane, so less knock. And it's like there's knock sensors in high. So when you made the reference about I've never had a car that has that, wink, wink. Yes, I love cars, people. I have a car problem.
I have a car
problem. That being said, though, there's sensors in those engines. Like those high-end cars will put sensors and be like, "Oh, you've been putting."
And it's like, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, you avoid your warranty that way. Is it really that much less? If you're going to spend that kind of money on something,
They're not happy though. They're not happy running that way. And you would, I mean, I grew up on dirt bikes, so I knew if I got the oil and gas mixture a little off, if I knew if I got that a little bit off, then it would run like crap. So like, as I started driving, my stepdad and my mom had big trucks, and like occasionally, or like when they were going out and romping in the mud or the snow, they'd put premium in those big motors, and they always said that because the compression was hotter, it would blow some of the carbon out and actually make the next tank burn cleaner.
The old
So
Italian
there's
tuna.
these like, if then, if this is better, I should put it in all the time. And then my stepdad actually explained in some engines, they're not designed for that compression all the time, but it doesn't hurt to put that good quality fuel in occasionally.
It used to be that you would take race gas and dilute it a little bit and throw it in your regular car and go hot lap it around the freeway to break loose all the gunk in the
Smart,
engine, and by the time you did that and brought it back and let it
It's
cool
like the
down
lazy
properly,
way to clean a carburetor.
it's the best way to clean a carburetor with fire. Burn all that gunk off. Now, would I recommend that in most modern vehicles? Probably not. But like,
The fuel injectors don't love that.
probably worked great
It's
on
like
your
I just drive
Cutlass.
them wide open.
Oh, dude, Grand National all day. Oh, I would sell everything I owned for one right now. Not everything I owned, but a lot of it. I
Again,
would trade every vehicle I had for one.
make
right
it more
now. How about that?
complicated. Will it make you morally flexible if you could get a Grand National?
I think you highly underestimate how flexible my morals already are.
We talked about, some people that have rigid morals, some people are more like wet noodles.
Right.
They're still noodles.
My shame receptors
I
are
hear
pretty
you
low.
say spaghetti. Is that al dente or in the box on the corner? How flexible are you?
Situationally so.
Yes.
Should be. I mean, most people would think it's never okay to hurt somebody unless they're trying to hurt me, and then it becomes more okay. It's a morally onerous situation.
Right.
It's not okay to kill people unless they're trying to kill me.
Right.
Then it's
If then.
hey, this is a permutation. Oh yeah, look at you.
You guys are having way too much fun. Here.
We'll see.
Not every.
I think I don't even need to be here.
What's that?
You want to be here? You can have fun.
I'm having a lot of fun. You guys have hit it off so well. Like,
First dates tomorrow.
It happens
It's
sometimes.
amazing.
It happens sometimes.
No, this
doesn't count.
Nope.
He's in sweatpants.
Seriously.
I'm not that.
That's why I'm gonna dress up for him. He's like talking about steaks and you're wearing sneakers?
Come on. That was actually my favorite thing to do. So I used to have a group of gentlemen that once a week we went to we called it
gentlemen.
It's very eyes wide shut, man.
we called it not that cool. Cool. No, we called it Ribeye Wednesday, and we drove around to all the different steakhouses in town. And every Wednesday we got ribeyes, right?
I've been all my life, man.
Hiding.
It's fucked up.
In the woods,
Sending notes
hanging from
to
a tree.
people. Sending cattle magazine cutouts to people.
Right?
Be ready.
Be ready.
It's Ribeye Wednesday.
Ribeye Wednesday.
What was your favorite in town? Don't say the top.
No.
Thank you.
I mean, I like the top.
Come on.
I do like the top.
Does he look from nostalgia or do you like the food?
No, I like the nostalgia.
Yeah, because the
food's not horrible, but at that price point, it's good.
It's offensive to me. It's offensive. If I'm paying $60 for a steak,
I'm going out to eat with you then,
please.
sir.
I will express my displeasure.
I will express my displeasure. We were never. How do I say this without being offensive? We stayed in a certain price point because not everybody could afford the $200 dinner, So like, we tried to keep it about the $100 range, so it limited some of the things we could do. But at that price point, Jay Gilbert's, little hole in the wall.
So Worthington.
Yeah.
Worthington, right across from Jay Alexander's, which I always thought was very straight. Jay Alexander's, Jay Gilbert's.
Well, Gilbert's was there first.
Yeah, Alexander's is a chain.
Yes. That is Applebee's with steak. Let's be honest with each other.
Good. I don't like it either.
If you're going there for lunch, it's amazing.
The salads are too big. So here's what I've noticed. If there's
How do you have a salad that's too big? Just stop eating the lettuce. Step and leave the lettuce.
It's been my impression that restaurants that offer big food, like Cheesecake Factory, places like that, nothing is ever really good. It's just okay.
Yeah,
because
you get a lot of.
If you have a 75-page menu, how can you be good at anything? If
it all comes from a bag. They have a good commentary.
So it's all sous vide?
Yeah, majority of things in restaurants that size
they're all sous vide,
or either sous vide or commissary. They're pre-made. They come in a bag. They come open and they cook them a different way.
Tattoo podcast talking about sous vide. This is going on a good.
Oh, we talk about food a lot.
This is not the first time we talk about sous vide on a podcast. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a fun way to cook a steak. You want to talk about having a good time? Sous vide at like 70.
Yeah.
And let it set. Give it 40 minutes or so. Sear it and bake it.
I'm flat out telling you now that between the break in this, if there's a break in the podcast, I'm ordering steak. We're eating ribeyes. It's happening. So embrace it.
We'd actually we had already agreed on running a little bit shorter of a show today. So probably first break we'll wrap
super long.
Yeah.
I mean, we can. You guys are talking about storm. I mean, I feel like I don't even need to be here. Poor Kyle.
You're trying to work.
Totally forgot he's sitting over here in the pit altogether.
I took his microphone.
You want to jump in on this stuff, man?
I jumped in where I needed.
Kyle's a foodie. He talks about food sometimes.
Let's talk about food, man.
Yeah, food. It's hard to be put on the spot.
Carrot cake yesterday.
Oh, that was delicious.
It was pretty good.
I wouldn't know.
Slam.
Someone was offered a piece and he looked at me like this. He was like, "Hey, Fawn, you want some carrot cake?"
Oh, right in front of him.
It's okay.
You walked.
Understand.
You walked in the room as I was wiping the last bite off, or I would have shared.
I was curious what it was you were wiping off. I was glad to hear it was carrot cake.
Definitely carrot cake.
It looked good.
She shows up and I'm like, they just had a piece. Now I have to give her her piece.
To be fair, that was lunch. I was quite pumped out.
It looked really good, man. You did a good job.
Yeah.
Kyle does a great job whenever he cooks. He kind of goes all out. He overachiever.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it right.
We give the intern a hard time, but he's an overachiever.
I was like decorating it like just on a square plate that happened to be the same size as the cake. I didn't have like a bench scraper or anything, so it's just like spatula and plate. Just tried the best.
Do I need to take you to watch this room?
I noticed that your
I just don't have the funds.
I know that your
let me take you to
skills
watch
are getting better. Could you notice that, Ben?
Supply store. I love it there.
His piping skills.
I did notice his little florets. Now mine came in a bag that was already pre-smushed, but from the pre-smushed, they looked amazing. But I can take you to Wasserstrom, and they've got a open box section essentially, and it is a couple bucks for something as opposed to the $25 or $30 you'd pay for that scraper at the store. Wasserstrom is amazing, and it's restaurant grade. It's
But they're 71, right?
Yeah. So
it's a paradise.
Yes,
I love food so much. To see how it's made.
It is the spot.
Oh.
Wasserstrom Restaurant Equippers. And if you want really, really cheap shit, we'll go to West Broad. Restaurant Equippers.
What? Oh. High Street. Is that one any good?
Which one?
The one that's like north of German Village, maybe Brewery District-ish. No, it's on High Street.
I am not sure. I'm just going to be real with you.
So it'd be a little bit south of Broad.
I'm one of those people that when I found the one place that worked, I never shopped anywhere else. So I've always it's been Wasserstrom.
It's very like Cold War, like Eastern Bloc stance. Yes, Wasserstrom. Borscht is all you get forever. Beet soup. Yum.
Restaurant supply stores for my side.
Yeah, they're a good one. Fawn sent me a video of snails eating beets the other day.
Oh yeah,
it might have been the coolest thing I've ever seen. First of all, I didn't know if they can like.
So you want some pet little land snails, don't you?
A beet, but since they were almost translucent, you could watch the beetroot go like up through their body. It was fucking cool.
That needs to happen.
Yeah.
Snails. You gonna start growing snails?
No.
Could we have like a tiny little escargot farm, but do not eat them or eat them? Do you know how to escargot?
If we are growing escargot,
garlic and butter, man.
Yeah, you just pop them in a pan, man. They start to curl, and then you. Yep, I'd let that happen.
I don't know that I've had escargot. If I did, I would have been very young, but I definitely would have it. You know, I eat all the things that come out of the ocean. Why wouldn't I eat a snail?
We had this conversation about shrimp too. Can we just farm shrimp?
They're very picky. We would have to have a large operation. It would be a long time before we could eat any.
A Bubba Gump boat might be more feasible?
Yep.
What would you call it?
Bubba Gump boat. Duh.
Jenny 17.
I've already got a shirt.
I've got a shirt.
Sounds like a ready-made company.
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Let's go, dude.
Let's hire the people to run it though, because I don't know anything about it.
Opportunity cost.
Yes.
I want a shrimp company.
I will back you.
Yep.
Guy that wants to run a shrimp company.
That's very true.
So what you're saying is you're shopping for opportunists.
Always.
He said
always. You never know who you're going to meet, man.
That is very, very,
you can't
very
be closed off, right?
I have my significant other often tells me that I fall back asswards into everything that I do. And she ain't wrong.
I was just going to say, is she wrong?
The same birthday, the same thing happens to us.
Yeah.
Because like opportunities present themselves out of nowhere and you're like, how?
Why not?
You just go with it.
Run it.
I mean, I didn't study what I do. I went from being into physics to being a strength and conditioning coach to running a hedge fund to now being a part of a huge hedge fund. And it's
Nice.
like I didn't study that. You
Right.
just fall into it. Like we're opening with another family another hotel in Mexico, and it's like this because we met these people that want to do this. And like that's just what
Love
you
it.
do. It's like you know.
I love it.
People need to embrace the idea that the universe puts the right people in your path if you're willing to
Accept that.
Accept that. It's like you're in this great transitional space. It's called a liminal space. Maybe we should talk about your liminal space. You're familiar with the term liminal?
No, hit me
Liminal
with it.
space is a space. It's an architectural term that means between spaces.
Okay.
So kind of emotionally and energetically, if you're in a
So
liminal
the
space,
foyer,
you're
the space between
exactly.
the out and in,
We're in the foyer of life right now.
a breezeway,
See,
a causeway,
I love it.
you
I
between
love
where
it.
you were and where you're going.
Right.
slightly larger than a hallway, the laundry room.
Is it a vestibule or a portico?
Portico.
What is the difference?
Every time. Because vestibules have to have an open ceiling. Right?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know about architecture.
I'm fairly certain that that's correct. That a vestibule has to be able to be open from the top.
I know that I like things that are symmetrical for the most part. My body likes symmetry naturally.
I don't square.
I don't love things that are strange. Like
You don't love it?
people build homes that are really strange to me sometimes. Like when they make choices, when they get to build homes. You know, everyone's different. I just am curious why they do what they do sometimes. Like, oh, that's a choice.
Right?
That's a choice.
You know what? You know how I know sometimes that I was born in the time period?
What time
How
period?
the thing is,
Which time?
What time period?
mid-century architecture and furniture just makes so much sense
Like
to
mid-century
me.
modern?
Yeah,
Like you want like simple angular chairs?
every piece of furniture is like a Swiss Army knife. Is it a sewing table? Is it a buffet? Is it a coffee table?
But
I don't know.
It's cold.
Not always. Not always. It can be. You can get stuck with like the avocado and orange. That's not the way to go. You gotta dive a little deeper down the rabbit hole and go for the upscale pinks and teals
I'm down with that.
and grays.
My wife would have a
That's the
mid-century modern
mid-century.
house if I was not. Yeah.
If you took me back to 55 and just gave me anything that was brand new from then, I would be pumped.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything.
Anything.
I'm trying to think. Like, no,
You're talking about architecture. Keep it in context.
He's
bro.
like, so you want a Kirby vacuum?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
They weigh like 3,000 pounds.
Yes.
Oh,
Do you know what I want? Is the whole house vacuum system. So it
Okay.
used to be you had ports on your walls where you hooked your
and I
hose
just
up
used.
to.
It's still that way in some
I want
homes.
one so bad.
Especially so the coolest thing in the kitchens is like you brush your debris. Let's see. Whenever I say debris, I think about being Jewish and having a bris and getting forced. Whatever. So not toilet paper, but these are
It's
religious
okay.
facts.
It's real.
So it is. You would understand. It's cool. So,
Don't get it.
It's fine. It's fine. So anyway, you will sweep all of your food particles or dust or anything else on the kitchen floor to the center island. The center island has a built-in vac. It sucks it up and takes it right to the garage.
Like hair salons have.
I love it.
Good.
Barbershop chair. Yeah. So there's a buddy that does raised platform barbershop chairs that have built-in vacuums systems in them. So like you step onto the platform to get your haircut. When they sweep to the chair. The chair vacuums to the central station.
Get there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, yeah. All right. Wow.
Do you have hair?
That's a valid question for a guy our age.
A guy with a
It's the one that doesn't have any. It's like, oh,
Right.
you've got some. It's amazing. What's that
Barber.
like? What's that like?
It's a chore.
I
Let me
understand.
tell you, it's a chore.
I think I have hair everywhere but where I want it. It's fucked up.
See, yeah, I have body hair, which is I've been blessed.
You're built for speed.
I've been blessed.
You're built for speed.
I grew up as a swimmer, man.
Yeah,
My body
you're
just
just-
knew. It just was like, no, man.
It's a straight dolphin. Just. It's like I also.
I'm surprised that that's the first time we've completely derailed, and it was only for a moment.
I mean, I can kind of make the jump. It's like 6 degrees. We can find our way back.
Like 3.5.
Yeah. You take that?
I'm sometimes.
You take that?
No. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Why are you sorry?
Because
Don't be sorry. You don't owe me an apology.
I don't generally phone in conversation. It's weird, but
Yeah.
I'm changing plans as the day goes, so I'm trying to
Is she
still
showing up?
update it. That's what we're
Is she
talking
coming
about
or no?
right now. I don't know. I didn't finish the
You should look
text.
at it.
I will. She's probably. Oh, this is not live. This is recorded. She probably is normally listening.
Yeah, usually, if we have like a technical difficulty, like, hey, sound's not going out, we're like, but it sounds good to us, and we start having this side conversation.
No.
But it's kind of good to have quality control out there. So I'm about ready to put our final whites in this little area, and then we'll move on to the next spot.
Sweet. What do you want to do to the inside of this?
Uh,
Can we talk about a constellation?
Orion?
Yep.
Is that what we were talking about?
Love it.
So, and I'd still love to put, like, in this area that, like, icosahedron shape or on your elbow, either or, but...
Probably end up doing that.
Just let her do what she wants.
It's fun.
I mean, it's your body. I just want you to like the choices we make.
Well, yeah,
That's
fair.
shit.
Fair.
Well, I want her to like all the decisions we make then. What do they say? Happy wife, happy life?
Oh my god.
Happy spouse, happy house. Everyone
There we go.
matters.
All I say is what's mine is hers and what's hers is hers.
Right. That's yours.
It's fair.
I get nothing.
Exactly.
I understand.
Every morning, hey, I'm sorry. For what?
I don't know
Fucking
yet.
Everything that's coming your way
Just
today.
getting ahead of it.
No, if that were real, that'd be great. I get up at 4, and she gets up at 8:30 when I bring her breakfast. Her life is pretty okay.
I'd let that happen.
You'd let them bring you breakfast?
I mean, anybody. Not that I'd be particularly stoked about your breakfast. But
I was like, man,
8:30 breakfast in bed sounds pretty
I was in bed.
luxurious.
Start spiking when I go to the gym, and I love my wife is amazing, so she deserves all of this. I will drop off like a Ripple, like a protein drink next to the bed at 4 a.m. So whenever she wakes up, she has something to eat, and then I'll make her actual breakfast sometime in the morning when she gets up.
That's amazing.
I love my wife.
Yes, it shows.
I also love my life, so I should love my wife.
Fair.
So I don't lose my life.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
These are important
Circular.
things. Yes.
Fair.
Circular.
Self-preservation, bro. There's a long game in here.
Yep.
It's like,
yep. Let me take care of you so you can take care of me.
it's a hard thing for people. Like, you can't just show up and...
Because you're supposed to be selfless. Everything is supposed to be
That's not realistic.
in servitude. But if you look into the opposite end of the spectrum, that comes from religious shame and having to be a servitude, right? Yeah. So if you take care of yourself first and look out for the things of other, that's actually the exact opposite of what modern religion teaches you.
That's true. And then also you're not operating from a position of scarcity.
Right.
Where you're constantly afraid of losing everything and being judged by a god from 10,000 years ago who's going to spank you over your food choices. Exactly. I'm going to go to heaven. Like, the Jews are so great. I love being Jewish. Some of their shit is so stupid.
Right.
I mean, every religion's got stupid shit, but come on. You think I'm going to go to meet my maker on the day of, like, whatever happens, whatever the shit happens, and he's going to be like, you've been a great person, really into your philanthropy. You helped a lot of people. But that bacon, bro,
dude.
Sorry, dude.
One of the things that
murdered it.
When we jump down like the religious rabbit hole, I love the way Ben is like, "Come on, people! You know the reason the book says not to eat pork? It's because they didn't have refrigerators, and it was a bad idea, and it would poison you.
It was gross. Yeah, you probably died. No fish on Friday.
It will not only send you to hell; it will send you to hell next Tuesday
because you could have died."
It's a valid point.
Well, and what's it say when you're not supposed to mark your bodies with the dead? And that's what people always collate to the tattoo, and that's where they claim that the Bible talks about not tattooing yourself, but really what it is they used to take ashes from cremations and mix that in with whatever pigment they were injecting into somebody's skin. Well, we're talking about back in the day cremations. We're not talking about 1400 controlled BTUs blasting on a body to disintegrate it to ash that is completely decomposed.
So we're just talking about almost like the drippings from a brisket, but with human DNA.
Yeah, so you get
you're
flesh chunkies in your pigment that you're now putting into somebody's body that would then cause an infection that would then make them lose a limb.
Dead bodies are also good for creating soap.
Yes, lye.
Yeah, you need lye.
We were on a plumbing project yesterday, my older brother and I, and we jumped down the whole rabbit hole of like...
Sorry.
We jumped down the whole rabbit hole of like what lye is and what it's used for, and he's like, "I don't know, but they use it to dispose of bodies." I'm like, I didn't say this aloud, but I thought to myself, comforted to know that you know how to dispose of bodies.
Well, I mean, the reason you know that's from growing up on a farm, because if you've ever been somewhere and you've got the dead horse that you need to bury in the back, you're not making a 35-foot mound. Same with, deer or livestock that have passed from illness, as opposed to that's now you can't eat that meat if it died from it. So now you have to do something with it. You can't always light it on fire. You have to have something that breaks it down and decomposes it. So like lye speeds that process up. But yeah, we're all just meat puppets. So apply that to a person and you got the same ballgame.
it's interesting. Like chemical compound discovery is interesting. So, and this is going to be a little segue, but that seems to be the nature of this conversation. So,
Always.
ayahuasca, right?
Mm.
So, in order to create ayahuasca, you need a root and a leaf, right? Very specific root and a leaf in a jungle filled with a bazillion kinds of roots and leaves.
Right.
And they must be harvested and processed in such a way to work the way they need to work.
Mhm.
Is it more likely that someone randomly discovered this process? Or is it likely that it was given by somebody of higher intelligence? You go.
Okay, so if you're talking about plausible combinations, right? So if you're looking at, at an environment that where the majority of the things are poisonous, these people are used to mithridium, so something that is acquiring a ability to ingest a poison because of slow process, right? So if you saw it from the small dose, and it gets larger and larger and larger. So when you test your food on that basis, the idea of that specific combination, how many different ways can you make a Wendy's cheeseburger? You ever done that? It's kind of the same idea. So if you take the 15 ingredients that are on there and you start with a plain bun and a plain burger, and then you add every ingredient on exponentially. So one with ketchup, now one with ketchup and mustard. Now you already have 4 different kinds of burgers, right?
It's true,
Right?
yeah.
So if you do that now across millions of kinds of plants and millions of kinds of roots and bugs and whatever we're digesting, to think that you specifically came up not just with those two plants need to go together, this root and this leaf, but now we have to be chemically processed.
Yep.
You have to extract from that. So it takes a heat extraction and a cold extraction to be able to get those two chemicals to mix.
For sure.
And they're not both done the same way.
Right.
So
There's a lot of intention behind that.
you think somebody just one day was like, this tea I made's really good.
I don't
or
think. I don't.
You think somebody was like, hey, if you happen to do. I'm definitely on the instruction side of that.
So you're down with like extraterrestrials.
Absolutely.
So think about it this way. Like I was talking to Fawn about this. Actually, this is how one of these thought nuggets happened in our last conversation. It was that there are more stars than every grain of sand on the beach on Earth.
Right.
In the universe.
Right.
So there's something, I think it's like 36 trillion galaxies at the end is what it'll probably be equatable to. There's statistically no way there's not life. It's not possible.
Right.
And I don't know why that's still such a hard pill for people to swallow. Like
we're special.
Oh fuck.
We've had this built in. We're special because we're ignorant.
Are you saying that we as a human race are narcissistic?
Absolutely. We got to think we're the only thing like this on this planet. So there's nothing else to compare our growth rate to. There's also nothing else that is intelligent at us. So we have a superiority complex from the rip, right? We're already better than everything on this planet. We're at the top of the fucking food chain. So if we're the best there is here, there's no way there's anything better out there.
So viewing through the lens of our own experience.
Right.
So do you believe that evolution occurred or we were put here intelligently? Not by a god, but by maybe other species.
I think there was an evolution of our process, but it wasn't done through
selection and time. So we talked about evolutionary genetics being so slow, right? So yeah, there would be an exponential evolution in a short amount of time of the human being as we know it.
Right.
There's so many stories that are interesting. When you get into like the old like biblical stories,
right.
or the other stories of that antiquity, talking about Nephilims and talking about Anunnaki and talking about all these interesting things that I feel like it's a cool time to be alive. Like this is an okay conversation to have.
So if you look at 15, 20 years ago, before that was even an acceptable theory, they were literally having to come up with, look at Egyptology, right?
Yep.
So now that we've accepted that X plus Y equals Z, it really just reverted a lot of the ancient theory on what was Egyptology, right? Yep. So their whole world's upside down now. Wait, these aren't burial chambers? Wait, there's never been a body in.
Yes.
So now they're finding chemical deposits inside of the chutes inside the Grand Pyramids that made a burnable fuel.
Well, it made sense too if you look at what the materials were. Using a quartz casing on a material like that will conduct electricity, right? And it's resonant.
One of the things that I like to consider whenever I watch anything along this line is when they start talking about how the river itself has moved. As a river, any river over time moves. It's the nature of a river. It meanders, it picks up material, it deposits material. In doing so, the path of that river changes ever so slightly. When the pyramids were built, that river ran right in front of them. So that was like the direct water source. What do you need to make a battery? Water.
You need to be able to pull ions through metal. You need to be able to have
water.
Yeah, you need water for sure.
Right.
And that's why obelisks exist. I think that's.
Right.
Are you familiar with that theory too?
Yep.
The obelisks are transmission like stations
Points.
for power. Yeah,
Right.
they're points. It makes sense.
So if you take Tesla theory back a whole nother step, and you look at transmission of power through direct points and then receiving that frequency through the air, that is exactly what the global grid was about.
Yep.
So if the ancients were here to create global grid for power, what's to say we're not linked in the same grid with everywhere else? So if you're traveling, if you're taking that energy to create portals to be then have transportation through space, right?
Let's call it that. Yeah.
We're shortening space.
What's allowed? It's the quantum theory allows for the movability of space-time as a constructed structure. So you would call it a wormhole.
So
that's allowed.
Are we not just a gas station that's been overdeveloped?
This is kind of what I think the moon is.
So we were put here to create these things and to help build and do all these things, and now that our grid has been broke down, our gas station is now invalid.
Yeah, it's like, why would we even go there?
The gas station's broke. I'm not going out of our way to go to the broke gas station.
That's a really interesting idea, because if you look at if that's all it was, and if we were farmed and raised by another species to have a job, that's that Anunnaki theory of like, so that, what is it? The Babylonians were like, hey, these people came down and they all carried these little suitcase things that looked like oxygen or something. They weren't able to breathe here. Ironically, Kokopelli has the same thing. Chichen Itza's got the same thing. And if we were put here with a purpose to create these structures so that other cultures could fly through here, refill on something, zoom out, then we really are low totem full food. And I think that's an interesting pill to look at ourselves through our lens.
Well, and if they have the ability to come to us, but we don't have the ability to leave, how small does that actually make us?
It should make us feel infinitesimally small.
Right.
As to the fact that, here's a little fun science fact for you. I don't know if you're really key on reading science facts.
Science
Here you go. So almost every galaxy is held together by a supermassive black hole at the center of every galaxy. Okay. Our Milky Way is the same way. Recently, they discovered a free-flowing, out-of-control black hole flying through the cosmos, but it's moving at such a speed that it's not extinguishing matter. It is creating stars by the thousands in its wake. It's flying so fast, and it's spitting up hydrogen so fast that it's automatically fusing into helium and creating these thousands and thousands and thousands of new stars in its wake. When these things are happening at the scale that is the universe, how could you possibly have the ego to be like, yeah, like we're it for sure, dog? Like
it made sense when we thought we saw the edge of the galaxy.
Sure.
Once we discovered, oh wait, there's more.
Yeah.
One of my favorite phrases, and I stole this from my little sister, and she has used it as kind of like a helpful thing for a lot of her friends going through rough patches, and I kind of stole it.
Tell me.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
That's extremely
Ignorance
true.
is bliss. It's the same reason I don't watch the news. It curbs my view of the outside world.
It's like the more we discover, the more we realize we don't know anything at all. Right. Like the more we learn, the more we realize that we are
Socrates said
so far behind.
Way back when he said the smart man knows he knows nothing. I mean that's been going on for thousands of years, and it's true. You should be mind blown. You should constantly be curious. You should never say the following thing: these are facts. These are ideas.
What is Ben? I'm going to put you on. You may or may not know, but where in the old book that we talk about all the time, where does it talk about living with childlike curiosity? That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's above me, but that's Old Testament
aside from like us bouncing our random ideas around, like the books even tell us, and we could talk about any book, but they tell us to live with childlike curiosity. Right. They tell us to keep seeking out new information. They tell us to keep seeking understanding, and you can apply this to any book.
Yep.
There's a reason I haven't said a specific. What one I'm talking about, but Ancient text
dogmatic texts.
Yeah, they're all delivering pretty much the same message, we can get caught up on the details, but
so what if we were put here as an adaptation of an extinguished race, right? So we came down as the people that came with the suitcases and the breathing apparatuses, but in order to thrive in this environment, we had to genetically alter ourselves to be able to breathe this air and maintain.
Okay.
So I don't think that humans are necessarily aliens indirect. I think we're causation of a rehabilitation of a planet.
Well, That's a really interesting theory because it would also explain why we're not acclimatized to this world we live on.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be here.
You can't live here without massive help.
Right.
Like you can't
Tell me
live
one place on the planet a human being can survive without clothes. We
Only
can't survive in the sun. We can't survive in the cold. Like
only,
that
only the horse
alone.
latitudes. I feel like you would have to be somewhere where you would be able to get into the dark through a jungle, and then live around the equator where it's always warm.
Right.
And it's all you could do.
So like where ancient man lives.
Yeah, it's all you could do. It's all in place. You should never leave. You should never leave.
Right.
You should never go anywhere. You can't live in.
So you're saying that the original theory behind population starts where people could survive in those environments.
Why would they leave and go to places they couldn't survive without massive help?
Nutrient efficient.
Maybe. So actually, that's the other problem that I think that people don't want to talk about, and that's massive Earth overpopulation.
Oh yeah.
So
3 million, bud.
If the world consumed resources at the rate of America, we would need 3 Earths to sustain the resource. I don't think it's funny because everyone's like all these environmental people that are like, I'm an Earth lover. I hug trees. Here's my 7 children. It's like, go fuck yourself because you are part of the problem. And unless
you just made your carbon footprint exponential.
Did that on purpose.
Do you have a team?
Nope.
Are you planning a team?
Nope.
Exactly.
Did one.
It's just frustrating when people will say that kind of shit and they'll be like, oh, meanwhile, I'm going to go plug my Tesla into the wall that draws power from nothing but fossil fuels and pretend I'm saving the environment.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. Hey, so where'd that come from, Carl?
Where'd that lithium come from?
Yeah, where'd you get your lithium? Just curious.
Oh, it took how many tons of diesel and fossil fuels to extract that lithium from the ground?
Was that too much?
No.
You were just like Bert Kreischer, and I was really excited. I want you to tell me you were the machine.
Happens all the time.
Tell me you're the machine.
No.
I am the machine. Come on, please. Come on.
I get Bert Kreischer all the time now.
Yeah, you have the same delivery too. The same
comedic
delivery. I love
timing.
It. Tell me a story about your kids that are funny.
No.
Tell me a story about your kids. No.
My kid is hilarious, but good.
That's interesting though. The idea of like being brought here for a specific purpose, much like sheep.
Mm-hmm.
You have a role that we don't want to do. So the answer is 42.
And then you cut to the SNL skits with Kate McKinnon after she's been abducted.
Yep. So why do we value gold?
What?
Why do we value gold?
Well, I mean, it's a good conductor of electricity.
Okay, and why the fuck do we care about a conductor of electricity in ancient times?
Oh, because it's shiny and it makes jewelry.
Okay, so, or were we...
We knew that it was good for that
taught to mine gold.
Yeah, mine gold. So I can see there's actually some evidence of ancient mine. Like, have you seen the mine marks in South America?
Like
from the air?
Personally?
Uh-huh. No, but you've seen them, on the show, right? There's obviously some kind of large scale operation happening that we don't know about. Why are there these things visible from the sky that only you can see from space?
Right.
Like, how are things so perfectly made, and why are they so perfectly made? Because that's a lot of work, dude.
First of all, we're talking about stuff going on in like Central South America, but let's talk about the Indian mounds in Ohio.
100%.
All over the place. They're
100%.
right here under our noses, and we don't even talk about them. Do you know Mound Street in Columbus was called Mound Street because it was one of those mounds, and they leveled it because the city was growing.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and desecrate some other stuff.
We don't know what it is. Level it.
It's my America.
Serpent Mound is one of the few places in the world with anomalies for like compasses and magnetic
issues.
Yep. Yeah. You can like wipe your phone if you go too close to things there and shit like that. Like,
it's good to know in case you're ever in an emergency. Like, oh god, I'll see you at Serpent Mound. Bye.
Yep.
Nope. I know nothing about what you're talking about. Nope.
Dead Zone 7. Yeah. Dead Zone 7. Yeah.
Meet me at the mound, bro.
You know, man. You know.
Where do you get your lithium?
Where do you get your lithium?
From China and CBN.
Depends on environmentally safe and friendly. Thank you.
How is that?
Because I know how. Because it comes in a battery, and Elon said it was fine.
Elon said we're good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
So can't we do all that with steam? That puts steam back into the world?
I mean, so that's
like that is what gets people killed.
Are you familiar with fusion? Are you familiar with fusion?
I mean, on what level, bro?
So like fusion, like
Asian and French combined in a dish, or like throwing really neutrons at each other. It is. Really.
We should do that. So no, the idea of fusion only needing like heavy hydrogen, right? So deuterium or tritium, but mostly deuterium. So deuterium is hydrogen with an extra neutron.
Okay.
Okay, so it's heavy hydrogen. It's in seawater. So if you are to fuse hydrogen into helium in a fusion reactor with enough magnetism, you create power, free power, and the only side effect is steam. Okay? We have the ability through tokamak to create fusion It's already been done. It has net positive energy. It creates more than it puts in. We've created stable fusion, but no one wants to mess with it. It's really wild to me. That's the only sustainable fuel source on the planet. That's the only renewable, sustainable fuel source.
And we're just like, nah, bro.
Yeah, we're just like, nah, it's too expensive. Don't want to fuck with it.
Well, I mean, we haven't
think
burned up
about
all
the
the fossil
first
fuels
engines
yet.
and how efficient they were. They were steam engines. It
Yeah.
would be a small fire
Mhm.
that created a large amount of steam, and that steam created
Well, that's
unstoppable momentum.
That's why we depleted the majority of the railroad tracks. That's why we took out the rail cars. That's why, because roads and the interstate system was developed for the sale of cars.
So inefficient, and it's such a bad way to transport. Why do we have no train system in this country? Really,
Right.
Like, go to it.
Because the car companies built the roads here.
That was an ironic question.
No, I'm playing out.
Yeah,
There's nothing rhetorical here.
I think you should totally go on that tangent, man. It's so real.
It's the truth, though. I mean, like, Columbus used to have a trolley cart system that was all ran by electric, and now it was all ripped out to put in wider roads because
easily go from like LAX to anywhere in the cities because they took out like all trams, all form of public service. That way you have to take a car.
cashmongers.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But I mean, electric cars are not the answer. They're just not. I mean, you can't. In solar and wind are great. You can't create enough energy with these products. So, like, fusion is interesting. It does require. I mean, it's how stars operate. I'm sure you know this. This is not necessarily new information, but like stars in the universe only work on fusion. So what happens is
because everybody knows how stars in the universe work.
Here's how stars work in the universe.
That's common knowledge.
Okay, so here's how stars work in the universe.
Ben's like, yeah, exactly.
Duh.
So, like, in a nebula, you have circling hydrogen gas. That's what gives it color. As you get different gases, you get different colors. That's what nebulas are. Eventually, that hydrogen will start to clump together, and it'll get heavier and more viscous, and it's going to start spinning, and it's going to start spinning faster and faster because gravity does that. When things get more massive, they move quicker, and you end up eventually having the force so strong, the gravity is so powerful of this clump of hydrogen that eventually two hydrogen atoms will squeeze together and create helium. Helium is then created, and in this exchange, there is a net gain of a neutron that flies out as energy. Okay, this is an extremely powerful event. It's so the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were fission bombs. You split uranium.
Right.
Thermonuclear bombs that we have now require a fission style detonation that then it starts a fusion reaction. That's why the bomb yields are so much higher.
Right.
So, okay, so you've got this hydrogen helium happening. That's what our sun is. All day long, all that's happening is that sun is taking hydrogen and creating helium. The net result, massive amounts of energy, heat, and light. Okay, cool. Well, in about, I don't know, maybe 7 billion years from now, the sun's going to be like, hey, we're running low on helium or hydrogen. So what happens is it starts to take the hydrogen or helium and fuse that into lithium. Because as it runs out of the original light fuel source, it goes to the heavier fuel source. It's like, hey, we're running out of shit. Gravity's compressing all these things. You create lithium, you create nickel, you create every single element in the world. By the way, every single element that's in you, that's created, that is on this planet, came from a star supernovae. Because all of the elements of the universe, the only element in the beginning was hydrogen.
Right.
That's it. In the Big Bang, hydrogen. Boom! Everywhere. Hydrogen coalesces into pools, creates helium. Helium then creates the heavier elements as the star's life cycle goes.
It was dark.
It was. Then there was hydrogen.
And then there was hydrogen. And it was good.
And all of the laws.
Then there was a spark. And there was light.
20 nanoseconds, all of the quantum field laws that are applicable in this universe were created in the first 20 microseconds because the boundary conditions were created.
Right.
It's wild to think, like, and that's why people don't realize their connection to the stars. The carbon in you is not found on Earth. There's no lithium naturally found. You know what Earth was in its infancy? It was a conglomeration of asteroids that had been shoved together through gravity. Do you know where the water came from on Earth? From comets. Here's something interesting. This is another thing. Earth didn't have water.
Wait.
Planets only gain water by being struck over and over and over again by comets that have water. There's no water on Earth. There's no water on our planet.
Hit a lot.
Oh, constantly. Yeah, before there was an atmosphere to deflect it, we look like the moon, only way worse.
Right.
I mean, it's just the way it is. And this is the cool things about the universe: mass scale, cataclysmic, violent things. But then they're beautiful. A star will supernova and spread every single element out into the universe, and it will seed planets. The things that make you came from a star that exploded hundreds of millions of years ago. And that's rad because that's ultimate recycling.
Right?
Two will be
Things that make
recycled.
you.
Yep. And will all be recycled in the same fashion because eventually, when that star starts getting thirsty because its elements are running out, well,
Got
what
the
happens?
thirst.
Well, what happens next? After the initial elements are burned, you go into the heavier elements. The sun, in its gasp of life, grows immensely, goes from a yellow average star to a red supergiant. When the sun is a red supergiant, all of the inner planets will be inside the sun because it will grow that much. So they're all done. You're gone and done. And then the sun will then collapse in on itself. It's not massive enough to supernova, but it will burn out slowly into a nice little white dwarf, all sad, 15 billion years after it was started. And then eventually it'll fall into the supermassive black hole that is at the center of the Milky Way, and the whole fucking thing starts over again, and it goes on at over and over.
That's insane.
That's how it works.
That's insane.
Yes. Education for you right there.
I'll take it.
There you go.
Open ears.
Man,
Every time. My formal education was that side is done. You should flip it.
Person who overly flips their food because that's the worst.
Yeah, no,
dude.
One flip.
One flip is all it takes.
You can rotate, but one flip.
Yeah, don't flip, man.
You get a quarter turn for good grill marks.
Because those proteins are going to like caramelize and taste weird and rubbery if you flip it constantly.
Chemoized.
Oh, look at you.
My Australian chemoized.
Hello, everything to with Fawn today. It's wonderful. She's great. No, not a pain now. Got a shrimp on the barbie. Want to go with some food with me right now?
I'm going to excuse myself for just a moment, please.
Take the times. You're drinking too much water.
There's no such thing as too much water.
I've slipped us all into Australian.
Did the dango steal your baby, mate? Yeah. All right, cool. Awesome. Wow. Okay. This looks so cool.
Yep, creeping right along today.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm chilling out. How are you doing?
Good. What do you want to talk about?
Around the spot, now I'm blank.
Kyle just moved into a new place. He's getting all settled on a whole different side of Columbus.
Yeah.
What do you think of where you are now?
I think it's a better area. I enjoy the house more, and in general, I think the area, like the neighborhood, is a bit nicer, less hectic.
Where are you?
I'm in the north side of Columbus, like right before Westerville.
Okay.
Yeah. The area I was in before was called the Bottoms. I learned after I moved in there.
Yeah, man.
Yes. So
Colorful area. A lot of interesting shit happens there.
A lot of characters.
Started from the Bottoms, now he's here.
Wow.
It's funny, when I first moved to Columbus, I lived in the Bottoms too, not too far away from where Kyle's old place was.
Didn't you also say that Marty used to tattoo that area
yes,
as well?
Marty tattooed not very, probably like right in between me and you, where your old house was. So there's a lot of history to like that area of Columbus, like a lot of tattoo history. There's another shop that was there forever on Broad Street next to the Harley store called like Jan's Tattooing. Jan was the guy's name. But he and Marty were the two for the longest time.
I think I know which spot you're talking about. I rode my bike past a lot there. It is not operating though currently.
Nope, he passed. Ben is back. Kyle killed the whole conversation while you were gone, Ben.
Kyle? You had like one job. It was like 3 minutes.
I thought this was my job.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh, I love the top of my shoulders. That feels great.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Well, I just kind of jumped into a new spot, so we haven't had the back team marinating and soaking in the whole time like we did.
Little collarbone action.
I'm just going to be in this little section, so I'm not going to bounce around too terribly much. But we are kind of in a new spot.
5:08. It's about time to think about food.
Aaliyah will not be joining us.
Why?
When the cameras are. No, you know how sometimes you just don't want to spread your mood.
Yeah,
that happens. You know, we were talking about this earlier. Sometimes you just can't people.
Yep.
She's one of those people. She's had her fill.
I can respect that.
No disrespect to anyone involved,
especially the fact that she is a teacher of very, very unique children.
Yes,
it's a very, very stressful job.
Yes. And when someone says, "I need to decompress," I go,
"You honor that."
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, you honor that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What are you guys gonna do tonight? Anything fun?
This is our at-home chill night.
It's a great night.
Neither of us have Spawn on Mondays, and we.
Does she have kids as well? Then?
Yeah,
Okay. Spawn.
It's our night to be us.
Are you guys into shows? Are you watching anything fun currently?
I would love some recommendations because, like, that's what we want to do because we don't want to be out in the world. But I don't TV. Like, I don't follow stuff.
So a good one that I watched recently on Apple TV is
Shrinking.
Shrinking.
Okay, I don't know if we have Apple TV.
If you don't, then never mind. But it's a show
We'll
about therapists, and it's Harrison Ford in an interesting role, and it's the dude who was the main character in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I can never remember his name.
I know who you're talking about, but also don't know his name.
Segel?
Yeah, yes. And then there's another another funny girl on that show. It's pretty funny, entertaining, but also heartfelt if you're into that kind of stuff. I don't know what you're looking for. Like
anything that'll hold my interest. I've never put a lot of value in my entertainment being from the TV.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because I'm interested in so many weird different things. Like I feel like TV's just repeat.
Okay, so if you want to give yourself a treat, I'm sure you've probably already seen it. One of my favorite shows of all time, and it gets flack, freaking Mr. Robot.
Okay.
Remy Malek. That is probably the most intelligent show I might have ever seen.
Okay.
And it's about it's him and I can't remember the girl's name, and Christian Slater is in it. And it's on USA, I believe, of all things. It went on for like 5 seasons, I think.
Huh.
And it is a really interesting, fast grab you show. So give it a whirl.
All right, Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot, people. Yes.
Mr. Robot.
It's worth it. It's really mind-bending. It'll make you think and make you question a lot of things, which I think you like.
Just as we talked a little bit earlier, surface conversations are pointless. And if I feel the same way about entertainment. If we're going to reel around the same wheelhouse and we're going to talk about the same things and do the same things over and over and over and over, there's only 5 stories, people. You're running out of ways to tell it.
This is a very valid
So when I've seen the same story in 14 different versions,
you're like, I'm good.
And when you look at literary base as opposed to the entertainment value of what they're producing, and you look at the backstory as opposed to the quality of the show, and you look at, this is another Romeo and Juliet.
It's a canned show,
right?
It's canned.
And everything falls into that pattern, and I'm predicting. So I'm into documentaries because that's more informational than entertainment based. But again, my knowledge, the things that pull my trigger are pretty small. So
I'm sure you've seen Fantastic Fun Guy, right?
No.
Oh.
I've fallen asleep to it a few times, but I'm out cold in the first few minutes by the time I put it on.
It is really good.
I get into a lot of the theories on that though.
So it's about mycelium, about under the ground and the communication.
The networks.
It's a really solid documentary, bro.
So we've talked. I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, but Fawn and I have definitely talked about it in person about how like the internet works are just like plants talk to each other and like fungus literally speak at a volume that our ears can't hear.
Sure.
And they make noises as far as being attacked and things along this. And it's just because our brain doesn't receive that frequency.
We don't care about it.
We assume it doesn't happen. Like if you chop a tree down, it actually makes a sound. We're just not able to hear it.
So that's like when people say they don't believe things they can't hear or see, and it's like your dog can see things you can't see.
Right.
They see in a different electromagnetic spectrum than we do.
Right.
So that means it's not real because you can't experience. Do you know how big the electromagnetic spectrum is? It's as big as this room.
Yeah.
Do you know how big the field of vision is? It's less than the size of this. And
so,
it's like, God.
How do we know that aliens aren't already here and they just, can't be seen? And they figured out if they keep their hovering, lifestyle above the ground surface.
Maybe if they're like 15 feet up, they're good.
They're just good. They're just good.
So maybe what I think is rain is alien piss. And
got you.
All right. All right. Man, listen. It's not impossible, man, because this is that whole idea about ideas versus like beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
The stronger wood is bamboo over oak because it's flexible.
Mm-hmm.
So be bamboo, man. Like, have some flexibility with these ideas that you will maim, kill, and destroy for with no evidence whatsoever besides a guy told me once.
This one time I was watching and he said...
Did you read it yourself? No, but this guy said it.
Did you read it in the language it was written in? Oh, did you read it by a person that was written 200 years after they died? Oh, it's a great storytelling right there, man.
What are your thoughts on a deep sea?
What's down there? Scary shit I want nothing to do with.
So, like, wouldn't it be possible?
A great place to hide out a civilization?
Right.
Yeah, of course it would be. Just like Antarctica.
Right. The thick ice wall.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing about that.
I think about, if you think about spaceships, if they can withstand the pressure of the vacuum of space, then it's a no-brainer that it could withstand a little bit of extra pressure from the ocean.
And even take that further, the amount of technology it takes to create a craft to travel the distances required to get somewhere. So think about it this way.
Think they don't know to hide from us?
It takes light 7 minutes to get to us from the sun. 7 minutes. It's traveling at 186,000 miles a second.
Right.
186,000 miles a second, and it takes 7 minutes from the sun. It takes years to travel to the closest star, traveling at light speed. To travel the distances required in space would require technology that would allow things to be changed, like space-time to be bent and folded, much like a tarp. If you think about space-time as a tarp, I could bring two together and then remove them, and now we're where we were over there. And that is all allowable in quantum field theory because the physics do work. It's just extremely hard. We can't do it technologically. You have to create a massive gravitational field. So the strong force that holds together quarks is much stronger than gravity. Okay. And imagine that under enough gravity, because gravity is not the strongest force in the universe, that eventually the strong force will give way to gravity if enough force is added to the gravity side.
Right.
That's what adds molecules together and creates fusion, right? So it's interesting to think about what would be required to create sufficient gravity to be able to bend fabric of space-time in such a way that we could then travel. And how do we not kill ourselves in the process,
right?
Of creating that? So because the law of relativity is pretty set that 186,000 miles per second is the speed limit of the universe. Because in order to go faster than that, so speed, requires force to get things accelerating. The faster you're going, the more energy is required in the system.
Right.
So the equations in physics are such that at near the speed of light, you require almost infinite energy to keep going that fast. So something else has to be at play. There has to be another factor. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Was how he labeled quantum field theory. He's like, well, it's weird. I don't even know what happens because it violates his laws of relativity.
Right.
Because knowing that something can have instant communication over a void. I mean, Hawking and Penrose kind of proved that when they were talking about the idea, well, what if one particle falls in the black hole, but its antiparticle doesn't? Like, what happens then? So if every particle has an antiparticle, right? Like a proton has an electron, but that's not the ones I'm talking about. Like positrons and electrons are antiparticles, right? So an electron has a pair called a positron. Well, what if one of them is close enough in a black hole event horizon to get sucked in and the other one isn't? The other one will still know what the other particle is doing, even though it's way further away.
Yeah.
But it will know because of quantum entanglement and that idea of quantum field theory, which is so super interesting. And I don't know why people aren't more like, this is the coolest shit in the universe.
Yeah.
Because it's complicated.
It
uses terms. It's kind of like my industry in finance. There's words that get used that have no business being used just to make people think they can't understand it. Like, as opposed to seeing, like, I could say something like, yes, we're going to do 3 rounds of financing. That's easy to understand, right? The term we would use is tranche. I'm going to use 3 tranches of financing. And they're like, what's a tranche? And it's like, well, it's a French word for that same thing. Exactly. So it's intentionally using words that I think freak people out.
Lawyer speak.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I can't do that myself. I should pay you oodles of money to do it for me.
Yep.
I
was recently going through it. Like, so you mean if I just take all these complicated words out and just read the nuts and bolts of this, it all makes sense, huh? And I don't need to pay you 1/3 of what I'm doing.
One of the things that you absolutely need to have if you want to entertain the idea of any kind of quantum sciences or any kind of quantum ideas, you have to be open-minded to say, what if? Suppose this. And suppose if this happens, how would it affect this, this, and this?
Right.
And if you can't, if your brain is the kind of brain that has a hard time thinking in abstract period, then this stuff could almost sound like scary mumbo jumbo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's really just, you have to think in the abstract and you have to be able to say, what if? And suppose this, and if this happens, then what about this? And that's scary areas for a lot of people.
It's admitting ignorance.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good way to.
I thought I had this figured out. Oops. Turns out there's more.
Being blissful can be great, though, sometimes.
Right.
Ignorance is not always bad.
I've sculpted my life around. Nope, I'm not going to pay attention to that. That's dumb.
That's dumb.
And here you are.
Here I am, doing pretty okay. I'm alive. Awake.
You're not just arrived, you're thriving.
Yeah, I can say that.
You're intellectually thriving.
Okay.
You're emotionally thriving.
Yeah.
You're on an emotional path of discovery.
That is true.
So you're doing better than most people.
I would say that. I'm not blinded.
The hottest work is internal, man. Looking at
That's
yourself.
very true.
And I refuse to take advice from people who won't look in the mirror. That kind of idea.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like,
We were
oh,
talking about that
yeah.
last night.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah.
so true. It's
Yeah,
like,
literally talking about that last night.
it's crucial.
It's funny to put it all back through one lens though. Yeah.
There's a lot to this world, man. There's a lot to this universe, and I just feel like we get hung up on the minutia so much that, like, just looking up at night, I don't know how it's not possible to be awed by like the smallness that you are, but also the connectedness that you share.
Right.
I mean,
That's one of the things that I love about standing like on the edge of a cliff or like standing on the edge of a large body of water. If that doesn't make you feel like gloriously insignificant, I don't know what will.
Right.
You know?
it's
Right.
true. It's
Not
super
like
true.
not like it's a bad thing to be insignificant, but just to know that you're such a little piece of something so much greater. You know?
Realizing that your world is only important to you is a hard thing for a lot of people to grasp. And when you are in those places where you feel small, you're more open to understanding that other people's perception and other things happen with or without my influence. Other people's perception is completely different than my perception. And when you're in that, I'm up high looking at that little teeny tiny town. That little teeny tiny town looks completely different than the person that's walking the street.
Mm-hmm.
And those two perceptions are of the same thing, but completely different views. And when you take the moment to pull yourself out of somebody else's reaction and out of somebody else's what's the right word, input of thought, right?
Yeah,
So like if you're removing yourself sense of thought from, I'm babbling now, but you know what
no,
I'm
it's
trying to
good.
say. I'm trying to say like your perception is your reality. So if you take a
100%.
moment to back out of that and realize that you're
Well,
not that
that's why
important.
reality isn't real.
Right.
You can't ever say reality to someone because it's all dependent on their own experiences. And like my mom would say this to me. I remember being so irritated, and this is in reference to a lot of people I'd known in my past that lived a certain lifestyle of excess to some degree. But my mother would say things like, they don't live in the real world. Sure, they do. They live in their own real
Live in
world.
their world.
My world is very real to me,
Right.
and yours is very real to you, and they
Right.
might look very different.
Yep.
But that's okay. Very
Yep.
different. Pardon me. Don't want to use the wrong adverb in there. But yeah. So I feel like that's something too, where it's like reality is very flexible.
Your normal and my normal are two completely different days.
100%.
My normal day compared to your normal day is completely different. Neither's right, neither's wrong. It's just our built.
So that's funny. That actually
our built perception.
that goes back
what
to
we should
goes back to
do.
relativity from Einstein. Actually, the idea of saying that. So his argument was, and it was true, and you've experienced it. Time is relative to the observer.
Right.
I.e., if I'm getting a tattoo and it hurts, an hour is going to take a long time. But if I'm with someone I love and I'm having a great time, an hour is going to fly by.
Yep.
That's relativity.
Yep.
And so then he would go on to say, well, that actually is a function of like speed, and that was how, like, if you're traveling at a speed, like if you're traveling at a speed and then you're also shooting photons out while you're traveling at a speed, then the relative interaction of the photons will be different than someone at rest. It's just, there's all this really interesting things that he talked about, but it's cool to be like, bring it back to an interpersonal space where you're like, maybe my version of reality looks very different than yours, but they're equally real, and therefore every possibility is equally valid because everyone's having infinite possibilities of experiences.
Yep.
So to say that you're right and I'm wrong or vice versa is always stupid.
Yep.
Because it's all based on where you're on the perspective chain.
That's like when someone says, you're going to love this.
Oh.
What?
Probably not.
You're going to love that. I generally don't take TV recommendations. I generally don't take movie recommendations because the majority of the time what somebody's going to find interesting in comparison to me is vastly different.
I hope you watch an episode of Mr. Robot and report back to me.
Well, it's different when you've already established, like, why don't you like watching the things that you watch? Here's something that's outside of that wheelhouse.
Yep.
We had that full conversation.
We did.
I'm now listening.
I'm not telling you to watch The Best.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want
Just
repeated
give it
bullshit.
a chance.
From the same culture that respects the sanctity of marriage, let's have a game show where we put people together. It's a great idea.
So one of the trash programs we have watched was Married at First Sight.
That's a thing? That's on Amazon or Netflix, right?
It's on one of
What
them.
is it about?
Essentially, these group of experts pair people together. You meet your significant other at the altar. You are married legally, and then they put them through. They all go on a group honeymoon together, and then they give them an apartment to move into.
For how long?
I think it's 3 months.
What's the point of the show?
To see if they stay together or not. So at the end of the show, they get the option to get divorced or to stay married. The person that runs it,
Yeah.
man of faith.
So
they bring in one of these people that is a counselor and or an expert, and they try to bring religious principle into it, and you're like, wait a tick,
how do those go together?
What? How does that even work, Pastor? How does that even work? So is it entertaining? Yeah, cool. Does it show a lot of like
the thought-provoking side of that though is like, are we headed to a place where like if little social experiments like this prove successful, are we headed to a place where science betroths us? Where they just find like, oh, on paper you guys look compatible and genetically you look compatible. There you go, married, no choice.
Honestly, I think that's the point of the show.
Yeah.
Is just because on paper we look perfect for each other.
How are we really? Yeah.
We are completely different people.
It's interesting too. We talked about overpopulation and like arranged marriages now. The idea too, I feel like there should be this is fucked up. Explain to me, and I get it. Listen, guys, I don't have kids. I don't understand. I'm talking out of my shit here, but you have to take a class and a test to drive a car.
Mm-hmm.
But any fool can go out and make a child
Mm-hmm.
and raise that child and throw it into the world.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck?
Because regardless of parental responsibility, that child is now now in the system.
I know. I'm just saying.
And the system is what creates numbers. Population is what creates business. Business is what creates back-end fund.
You're going to hear what I'm saying right now, which
No,
is I believe that everyone should be chemically sterilized at birth, and then you should only be allowed to be unsterilized when you've proven means to raise a child.
No, sir. I completely agree with that.
Do you?
Yes. Yeah. Because like you said.
How do you save the earth? Get serious. Save the earth? Really? Plastic bags and some fucking aluminum cans?
Right.
That's going to do it for you?
We got to start murking people.
And also, by the way,
this is because like your children were going to die off due to disease,
and you had a farm.
Extra.
You needed labor.
You needed labor
and some protection against. I love when people say the good old days. The good old days of sewage in the street, people dying at 10. It's a great
people
time.
Dying at 10.
Well, that's why you had a dozen kids.
Right.
That's why you had 7.
Yeah. It's probably
3 of them are going to make it. Right.
But you know, it's interesting that people will talk about let's get serious about the environment, but no one actually really wants to get serious because at the end of the day, it's not really fun things to think about.
Right.
That there are far too many people. There needs to be an LE of some degree from an extinction level event. There needs to be something that is catastrophic, and COVID and shit.
Yep.
It needs to be something horrendous, and it needs to happen so the Earth can survive. And also, by the way, let's just call it what it is. You can't save the fucking Earth. The Earth does not need saving.
Nope.
The
we
people
need
are
saving.
fucked.
Yeah, because if we all die, the Earth would regenerate itself.
Look at Chernobyl. Dude, get this. The Earth will shake us off like a bad case of fleas.
Well,
a surface news like, ugh.
That's what we are. If you look at the Earth as an organism, breathing planet, moving, everything in it is a system, right?
We're a parasite.
If we are a parasite on that system, eventually the system is going to figure out a way to get rid of that parasite.
Yeah.
Dogs stand in water for 2 days when they can't have access to flea medicine.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Yeah, man.
That's what's going to happen. The Earth will just be like, okay, things, I will kill you all. Well, what's the stone tablet that has the prophecy written in 5 different languages on 5 different sides that talks about it is the Rosetta Stone, where it talks about the optimal population for the Earth is only supposed to be 3 million people, and that we need to start cultivating a system to get us back to that.
I mean,
I'd be a huge fan of it.
Here's the thing. I would.
China was doing that for a bit.
One-child policy?
Yeah, one-child policy, and like you had to like go through like taxes or other kind of things to have more than that, or like prove why you need more.
Concur.
And that's why sometimes the good of the many outweighs the good of the one. Almost always. If you're in a society, how can the good of the one ever win? In a society. I'm not saying it's okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just like...
It sucks to hear, but it's true. It's like, oh man. I mean, I'm not for the purge, but I'm for the purge.
I'm not for the... I just want there to be less people. Just in general.
I mean, I really feel like there's something that will come. I mean, I don't know if it'll be Hunger Games. That's not enough people. Here's the thing. If there was a culling event and it was like a lottery system, I will proudly put my name into it. If it's a painless,
televised, people will just sign up for it.
if it's a painless, listen. Here's the thing too. Suicide should be completely legal. It should be completely assisted and completely okay. Why? Why not? Like, why? If I don't want to live, why can't I?
Right.
Why do I have to find crafty ways that are painful and I'll probably fail and become a quadriplegic? That's not great for anyone. Like, give me some chems, send me on my way, and let me go to the next iteration.
Are you saying
The
that?
next iteration, nice.
Yes. It's for sure the next iteration because matter is never created or destroyed. We just change forms.
Yeah, it's just transferred.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
would you think that most people would, you think there would need to be a psychological evaluation before allowing somebody just
Yes.
access to suicide?
Yes.
Okay, I agree with you.
But I think it should not be very, very weighted. I think it should be like a conversation. Like, listen, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
What's the last?
You just having a bad day, or is this like
a year, or is this like a month? Did you break up with somebody you just knew? Is that the thing? Then again, do we want someone around who would do that? Would break up with someone who want to kill themselves? Maybe they should go. Maybe they should go.
So like strengthening the gene pool at its finest.
100%. Oh! You just gave me a break.
He has to say it again.
Survival of the mental fittest.
Why is that not a thing? You know, they were. You know, what is the song from the 90s? I've been around the world and only stupid people are breeding. There was some truth to that bullshit.
Yeah.
Like the people that you meet.
Are we talking about the classic flagpole sitta from Harvey Danger?
I mean, yes, absolutely.
I'm not sick, but well, that one.
That's the one.
It's got so many good one-liners in there.
Think about it.
Creating, cloning, and
Like it's the truth.
And Ben doesn't even own a TV.
No, don't even own one.
I mean, why can't we just have a real honest conversation and say we fucked up? We need to reassess. That's not even a real word. We need to assess. Not how you
You can't reassess if you do it twice.
Let me tell you something. This is so funny. Bro, you can't preheat something. It's either heated or unheated. Often exists in a heated or unheated state. You can't preheat. It means you heat it before you heat it. It's like when you're in an airport and someone's like, you gotta pre-board the plane. You can't get on before you get on. Dude. Also, you don't get in a plane.
You're in a plane.
Sorry.
On it would be on.
There's less wind inside.
All relevant points.
That's good.
I'm
not mad at it. I think it's great.
It's just the shit we say, words that make ourselves feel more important. Like if you listen to commentators, sometimes they'll use this extra verbiage. You know, Aurelius said most people speak too much and say too little.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I've been talking my ass off tonight, babbling because it's fun. Because this is a fun conversation.
That's the point of what we're doing, though.
Like free thinking conversations are few and far between. This one hasn't even been stimulated with really substance. If you think about it, it's been a long time since I enjoyed any kind of substance.
It's again, it's hard.
It's been a long time since I enjoyed any substance. No,
it's. Well, like you said, it's hard to find people with compatible interests anymore because everybody's so shallow.
When I met my wife and I asked her early on, "How do you feel about kids?" and she said, "I don't want them." I'm like, we're in. We're done. We're good.
Sign
me up. Figure the rest out. It's all the rest is fine. It's fine. But it's weird. I don't know this hole to like populate. I think it's great that you have a kid. You love her. She's amazing.
Right.
I'm sure it's changed your life in ways I can't even appreciate.
Absolutely.
But you acknowledge, was it something you always wanted?
No.
Was she an accident or like a plan? You can also say none of my business.
No, I'm just. It wasn't.
I won't take that as an answer, though. I'll keep asking.
I know you
That's
would.
fine.
It wasn't necessarily unplanned. It was like, hey, we've been married now. That's if we're having kids now, the time type of situation.
Yeah.
And it was one of those. If it happens, it happens. That would happen immediately.
And you would change it. I'm sure. Given the opportunity to say, I could not have this. Is that something that have you ever thought about that?
Yes, but
it's a possibility. Obviously,
it took a kid for me to consider growing up.
Oh, okay. So that was a very worthwhile experience.
Absolutely.
Then. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Because there was no reason to further past where I was because I could take care of me.
Yeah.
Now I have to take care of somebody else. There needs to be longevity in my decisions. And I'll make it through. I'll sleep in the street. Tomorrow will come. But I can't ask somebody else to do that.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah. I'm okay with torturing myself. I can't do that to somebody else. So to put yourself in that, it makes you less selfish.
I mean, it's got to if you're doing it right.
Yeah, it's the only thing that would make me less selfish.
Interesting. Good self-analysis. See,
Therapy.
Go start on your chart.
Therapy helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Therapy's awesome. I have a therapist. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Therapy's fantastic.
It might quit.
Really?
Yeah.
On you? For you as therapist?
Yeah, I got a
Just
Dear
this was
John
a
text.
Really? Are you
recent
serious?
Yeah, like fucking
development.
2 weeks ago.
He quit you as a therapist?
Yeah, she was
Why?
like, nope.
Really?
Just in general, she quit.
Oh, being a therapist.
Yes.
But that was just you.
No, took some time for personal development, is how it was put.
Think about how fucked up it would be to be a therapist.
I thought
All
about it.
day long,
I couldn't do it.
hearing people shit.
Well, okay, now back that up a whole step, because now you're looking at repeated patterns. Now, if you talk to the same style of people and you have an expertise or a lane that you are in therapy, right?
That's true.
And you talk to the same style of person, that is what allowing you to stay detached from the situation. Right. So if you're talking to the same demographic of people and they're all having the same problems and they're all depressed because of the same reasons, and you're just on repeat, you're not getting emotionally developed into that story because you've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
So what made it different for my therapist quit a couple weeks, 3 weeks before she announced her retirement with me, because I read through bullshit. And she came in one day and she was off and I called her on it. I'm like, hey, so like, what the fuck's up? Like, you're checked out. Like,
Wow.
like what's wrong?
Yeah.
Are you having a bad day? Like, she's like, oh, I don't want to get into it, blah, 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 personal life, this, that, and the other. I'm like, you know about every single niche of my life. And when I'm like, I noticed you are different, instead of talking through that and being like, hey, you know what? I'm also a human being. It was, I'm not a good reflection of an example right now.
Ooh.
And she bounced on me.
Wow. Dude.
And it was like, so you expected me to have this blind trust with you, but when it came down to maintaining a personal relationship with me, you weren't.
The boundary was too deep. Yeah.
The boundary was too deep.
That's weird.
And so she had stopped with me a few weeks before she decided not to take any clients at all.
Wow, man.
Because I called her on it.
Good for you.
Yeah. Then she sent me a text and basically was like, hey, I'm moving. I didn't even answer. I'm going to call her like next week and be like, I don't accept breakup texts.
When you're getting close, I have to use the bathroom when you can't.
I kind of have to pee too. Should we go ahead and wrap up? We've been going for a little
Hey,
while. I think this is a conversation we could probably pick up anytime.
100%.
That's the beauty of keeping it flowing.
Keep it fallopian.
Fallopian.
Nice.
Wait,
Nice and tubey.
it was like sweetmeats and waffles?
Well,
So yes, it's Filipino. Never mind. Damn it.
I can't. I want to laugh so hard right now. Oh.
do you want to take a minute and tell people where they can find you, or
You can find me. You can find me if you would really want to. Based on this conversation, I would probably ask yourself why. If you are so inclined to find me, you can follow me on Instagram. It is the Magic Junicorn, which is like Jew, unicorn Jew. The Magic Junicorn. Hit me up. Follow me. I'm always getting into crazy adventures and posting random stuff. So
Love it. Well, you are now a staple on the show, and this is definitely not the last time that you're going to be on. So when you're free on Thursdays, you're ours.
Oh, I love it. I will.
Okay.
You know, I actually, it's funny. I have a standing appointment every Thursday in Columbus. It's over at 2.
That's funny.
Just saying.
That's funny.
So,
Hmm.
I would gladly come back and pontificate on more of this. You guys are amazing.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, it's really nice to, again, bring people in that are outside of the box, if you know what I mean.
I'm so outside the box. I'm more like in a circular rhombus shape.
And that's what makes conversation worth it. So
Yeah,
we appreciate having you on, man.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you
I
so
appreciate
much.
you.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks, guy.
Well,
Fine.
thanks everybody. We will see you next week.
yeah, we'll be here same time, same place.
Hasta luego.
Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.
Bye.